Hi, Sal.
Oh,
Hi, chat.
hey, everyone. Hey.
It's Jamie and Iris and Mass. Hi, guys. We have a little bit of day 2 left, and then we can hit 3.
Yeah.
There's the jury questions left, and then they argue over bringing in her medical stuff, her notes from the doctor and things like that. So
Okay.
Hi, Shani.
And I just set up the link for the dual stream on my end.
Okay.
I will put your link in and pin it.
All right. I'll go grab yours real quick and add that. I also have the updated shortened version of the link for Matt's book. And that's in the description. And it's pinned at the top right now. And I need to turn off my notifications on my phone.
It's always something.
Let's get this little bit of day 2 out of the way, and then
yeah,
we'll be able to get day 3 started. There's hardly anything left, so
yeah. Jenny.
When you were providing security for the search warrant, did you go into the structure itself?
I did.
And do you recall if you smelled cigarette smoke while you were there?
I don't recall.
Okay. I have several questions, and I'll probably have to go through these as I find them. But you did the extractions and turned information over to Detective Grubb, correct?
Yes.
Did you view any of
How's
the
the sound,
information
everyone?
that you could testify to now that you
Can you
did
turn it up a little?
I reviewed some of the data, yes.
Okay, well, I'll ask the questions and you can tell me if you can answer those or not. And these questions may bounce around a little bit too, because I'm just not taking any particular order.
Oh, one sec.
The extractions that you took, are those from Matt's phone, Emily's phone, and the 3 women who found Emily?
Yes.
Does the extraction show any deleted calls or messages from the phone or deleted apps?
I don't recall off the top of my head.
Was Matt's computer searched?
I don't know that answer.
Was Emily's iPad searched?
I can't answer that one. I don't know.
And I understand.
Okay.
Does location show up for messages or calls? Specifically, was Matt's phone location shown night or morning of 24th, 25th?
Location for phone calls? It can show location data, but it's certain apps. If a photograph's taken on your phone and you have location data on and you take a picture, it's going to give GPS coordinates where that photo was. But as far as
the extraction, did that have an indication through GPS where the phone physically was located on the 24th, 25th?
I don't remember.
Okay. Were emails searched on Emily and Matt's 2 phones?
I didn't search them. I'm not sure.
And I assume that to be the case. Okay. And again, you may not be able to answer these. Were any messages on Amy's phone of importance from Durbin? Somebody named Durbin?
I don't recall.
Okay. And this goes back to the search of the location. There was an electrical device on the top of the cooler discovered by Matt on the AM of May 25th. Amy shows now it was not on the cooler. Do you know why it was moved since Matt felt it was unusual?
I don't.
Okay. You may not know the answer to this, but I'll ask anyway. When did Detective Grubbs first review the details of the phone extraction?
I don't know the answer to that.
That'd be for him to answer, I guess. Again, do you know what the last date and time of Emily's text messages and calls were?
I don't.
Okay.
Do you know anything?
The jury has good questions, just
Do you know
wrong
what
for
date
the wrong
Matt's
person.
phone was taken from him to have the data extracted?
The first device was taken on the 27th of May.
27th of May.
Yes.
Was that part of the search?
Yes.
If there is a way to show if things are deleted or erased, can you still find them on the phone?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Okay. Can the extraction be run for specific dates and time frames?
Yes.
And we're back to the search. Were blankets ever pulled back on any bed to see if there was anything on sheets or bedding as far as evidence?
Yes.
Was the bed in bedroom, I believe E, a pull-out couch?
I don't know.
Here's a better question. Was it ever pulled out and checked?
I don't know that answer. Yes.
Did you pull out?
Do you know
I did
when
not
Emily
pull
Stone was
out
last
anything,
used on
sir.
5/24/20 and how it was used?
No, sir.
Did you think it was ironic that somebody got pregnant?
Why
on
was there
the
such a
couch?
delay in searching the Samsung?
Well, that's no fun,
Device.
Jamie.
If that was the second device,
I believe you had two devices searched 1 year and then one a following year. I think that's the one the question is posed to.
that device was searched after their arrest.
Can you tell if anything was removed from the phones between 5/24/20 and the time of extractions?
If it show up on the report as deleted data, you possibly see that, but I don't know without looking at the data.
I don't think you can answer this, but I'll ask it anyway. Were the photos of the residents taken during the search compared to the body cam footage by Officer Hollis, specifically the bedroom closets?
I don't know. I can't answer that.
And do you know, I think you maybe mentioned this already, did you know if the defendant had advance notice the search warrant was coming?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Yes.
No, we called him up a
Questions from
couple
the
days in advance to let him know.
I'd pass.
Becky, we talked about two phones from Mr. Moore.
Yes.
When was the first one, the iPhone, collected and then analyzed?
The iPhone was collected on the day of the search warrant on the 27th. I don't remember off the top of my head the day it was analyzed. And then I believe the second device, the Android device, was collected on the time of his arrest.
Okay, so there's a delay between those two?
Yes, sir.
And again, you were asked about specific messages, location data, last time Emily used her phone, questions of that nature. Is that because you extracted the phone and then provided it to Detective Grubbs to review that substantive data?
I did. That's correct.
No further questions, thank you.
Follow up on one issue. You mentioned how apps on a phone can track your location. Do you remember saying that? Like, I'm sorry, if you took a photograph and the photo saved in with your phone, the photo could track your location when the picture was taken. Does that sound right?
If you have location settings on for that, yes, ma'am.
So to follow up on that question, apps can act in the same way, right? If you allow location in your settings, that could also
That
track
guy in
where
the
you
back left
are.
Yes, ma'am.
alive.
For instance, when we're talking about apps, like if I'm on Google Maps and I have that app and I type in a location and I arrive there, that could track my location as well.
Yes, Google tracks your location, yes.
Nothing further. Thank you.
Appreciate your testimony. Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm advised by counsel this may be an appropriate time to close for the evening. I think any additional witnesses would carry us a little too further on and we wouldn't be able to finish them. So again, we'll conclude today's proceedings. As always, remember the court's admonition. Likewise, enjoy yourself tonight. I'm going to go out and get a good meal, so I don't know what you folks may do, but most importantly, get a good night's rest. Take it easy. Don't be thinking about this case. Relax. We'll see you tomorrow. Same routine, but I think you go to the third floor again at 8:30, and then as soon as everyone's all together, we'll start up. Thank you very much.
Yes, she does.
Yeah, I had a question.
This doesn't take very long. There,
Were they
no,
taken?
there it is.
Okay. No problem. I just want to confirm my notes are correct.
When we move to enter, I'll remove one.
Understood. That was more for my information out here.
Oh, yep, you're right. They are.
But wait, there's more.
If I may, you tell me.
Let me just say this, for the record, or on the record outside the presence of the jury, all parties, including the defendant, are present.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor,
It would be
today is the
kinda
first time
trendy
I've
to
ever become
do
aware of the fact that
a 5-minute
cell phones
stream.
For the three searchers.
Yeah.
So the three women that found the remains of Emily. First time I'm ever aware their cell phones were obtained by Westerville Police Department. First time I'm ever aware that there were extractions done on those cell phones. And I specifically had to lay the foundation so that I could have this on the record. I certainly have never been aware that there was potentially photographs on those phones. So I would ask, I think that's an evidentiary discovery issue. I would ask that the state turn those over forthwith. I really want to be clear
For
about something on the
sure.
record. I have never even known that those phones were taken. I have 3 handwritten statements from each of the women that found the remains, and I have Detective Grubbs's investigative summary report. Nothing in any of the information we've been provided indicates that those phones have been taken and extractions have been done.
Mildly
Any-
inauspicious.
Your Honor, in Book 3, Folder 13, contains their witness statements from the three women. It also includes attached to that a consent to search form that was signed by the women with regard to their cell phones. There certainly is indication that their cell phones were
Thanks,
taken and looked
Jody.
at.
I think it's in evidence, yeah.
And so, I mean, but it's in the items that were provided in discovery as well. I have not seen either a full extraction on the phone, so if that does actually exist, we'll look forward and try to provide it. But it was clear from the discovery that's been provided that the phones of the three women were taken and looked at in some fashion because they did
Well,
provide.
I think we've established that. The question is, I think the defense is asking for them.
And I understand that. So certainly if there's a cell phone extraction that was done, we need to obtain that and provide.
I think
that
that's
to
in
the
evidence,
defense.
yes.
But I want to make sure that the defense just indicated that there was no indication in discovery whatsoever that phones of these women were ever even looked at. That is not accurate because in discovery we did provide.
Well, I don't think she's asking for sanctions. I think what she wants to know is, can I have a copy of it?
Absolutely, and we'll.
Will you do that?
I just want to clear up the record with regard to this.
We're cool.
We're copacetic.
Okay, did you hear that, counsel? Okay. Who are you planning on calling tomorrow for witnesses, just for order of things?
It depends a little bit on who's available to come back. We had a Detective
I don't want to
Howe,
hold you to any of this. It's just a preview.
potentially Detective Howe, and then I do believe we'll call Detective Grubbs, and I expect he's probably going to take most of the day, and that may be all we get through if that's.
Your Honor, I did file the motion eliminate that I spoke about this morning with respect to the counseling records of Emily Noble. I would just ask, that is an issue that I would go over the records with Detective Grubbs. Again, I have provided the affidavit, David, with respect to the custodial issue to the state from the counseling center. I intend to question Detective Grubbs about the counseling records as they were obtained by him through the course of the investigation as part of the workup in this case. I believe that they're incredibly relevant. The counseling records are from August of 19 to November of 2019. Also, and she goes to counseling as indicated by the records because of her anxiety and depression from Joey's death. I can also tell the court that I further think it's relevant based on Amy Thomas's testimony, where she said that she remembered her sister being forced to go to counseling because of FMLA.
Agreed.
Yes. And so I think that makes them further relevant. I litigated all of this in my motion. I just want to be transparent and proactive that I think that I should be allowed to question Detective Grubbs about that.
Your Honor,
Have you seen the motion?
for purpose of the record, we received a copy of the motion over the lunch hour. We would ask defense counsel to point to the specific statements or comments in those therapy records that she believes are evidence of attempted suicides as noted in their motion. And then we would like the opportunity to respond before the court makes a decision once we have that information from counsel tonight. They've had these records for a substantial amount of time, Your Honor. We want to know exactly the portions that they believe are evidence of attempted suicides now so that we can accurately respond tomorrow morning.
Sure. So let's be clear. I think I desire to question about the entire records because I think they are completely relevant. The state believes that Matt Moore murdered Emily Noble. We clearly have presented a case that she killed herself. This is a case about her mental health. We know a lot about suicide. There's been testimony about whether or not she went to treatment and whether or not she had a mental health issue. These records they are literally in between Joey's hanging and Emily Noble being found with a USB cord around her neck. Separate and apart, I think the whole records are fodder for cross-examination of Detective Grubbs.
What's he going? He's just going to parrot what's in the report, right?
Yeah, and quite frankly, yes, I mean, this is why, isn't it true that she went to counseling for this reason?
Why would he be interpreting the records?
I don't want him to interpret the records. On cross-examination.
You just want the records admitted.
That's exactly right.
That's what you're looking for.
And Your Honor, I have been, for sake of transparency, this has been an issue that I've been trying to resolve with the state for some time. They have said repeatedly, I've said about stipulations, they have always said they will not let the counseling records come in. I believe that they are so relevant to this case. And so I'm doing everything I can, right?
There's lots of it here.
Correctly. And Your Honor, I even said to the court yesterday that I anticipated filing the motion to eliminate because I knew that this issue was so important that I had to preserve the record and file something. I mean, literally, it's not what I'm usually doing.
Or you're filing it in the middle of trial.
Okay. What, you believe the records should not be allowed to be admitted in this case?
We want them properly admitted, Your Honor, and we'd like the opportunity to respond.
Do you
because
want them admitted?
we would like the opportunity
No,
to
my question is
respond.
yes or no. Do you want the records admitted as part of this trial?
We want the information contained in the records to be accurately portrayed to this jury, not what defense counsel is going to ask her questions about.
Hang on a
records.
second, hang on a second.
No.
I'm not sure Detective Grubb
Have a
is
temper
holding these
tantrum.
records. Is that correct? The records that you wish to discuss?
I would love it if we just marked them and sent them
Well,
back to the jury.
that's what I'm trying to ask the question about.
Love that.
Hey, Nick.
That's my question. Rather than have somebody interpret these records, and I'm sure the detective doesn't want to do that because that's not his role in this process. If the records can be presented in the fashion you wish them to be, I'm willing to go along with that.
Wasn't there something called the rule of completeness where you have to the other side can request all the
We have a problem
records?
with whole offing the entire exhibit without the therapist here. All right, Your Honor, there are statements in there that are pertinent. There's just a whole host of things. And so to admit an exhibit and say, here you go, jury, figure it out.
So you're saying
It's
you
not-
don't want to agree to a stipulation of that exhibit as evidence?
No, we're not willing to stipulate. to
Okay,
that.
well, that was the question I asked a while ago. Okay, I understand that. So you're saying basically, from an evidentiary point of view, we don't have the proper people to present this particular record. Is that what you're saying?
They have not been called to court yet, Your Honor.
Okay, so you're saying it's an evidentiary question at this point, whether or not
For
those records can
sure.
be admitted?
Correct.
So just so we're clear, the state's trial brief indicated on their witness list that they had Angel Kessler, who is the therapist for Emily Noble. She currently lives in West Virginia. I do have a subpoena on her. Your Honor, I've really tried to avoid sort of that whole issue. But if the state's position is they do not just want to mark it and send it back, and they want the counselor to testify, you know what? Then that I understand is where we are.
Okay, I'm not sure I understand where we are. What you're saying is it's in their hands. Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, I mean, I don't believe I need the counselor to come and testify as to what's in records because, Your Honor, of course.
Well, to the detective, those records are hearsay.
Well,
He has no input to that record. He just is a physical possessor of that record. Is that a correct statement?
Yeah, and he can put it in.
well, I think they come in hearsay.
I'm asking honestly. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think there's business records exceptions. There's a medical records exception. I think the records speak for themselves. I have sent emails to the state asking, will you stipulate to the authenticity and or admissibility of these records that they obtained through a subpoena? They said no as to authenticity and no as to admissibility. So I went and got a records custodian at Serenity to say those are the records. So now I've crossed my authenticity and now we're at admissibility. If it's the court's position that they do not come in because of the business or medical exception, and the court is saying bring in the therapist to talk about them, then I don't have a burden of proof. But if that's where I am, that's where I am. I just don't believe that's necessary, Judge. I think they should just come in.
So how are you proposing to bring them in?
Mark them as an exhibit. Did you obtain these as a course of your investigation? Do they appear to be fair and accurate copies? Is this an affidavit? Yes. Boom. I mean, I have the affidavit that comports with the rule that says they're properly kept in the ordinary course of business. And
That's from whom?
from Serenity Health, the
Serenity.
counseling center. And
There you
I
go.
supplied that to the government because when they said they wouldn't agree, I just got that affidavit 2 or 3 days ago for the records custodian. I'm happy to call the records custodian in. I mean, happy is not the right word, but.
Okay, all right.
The affidavit was signed and actually by the CEO on August 15, 2022 with respect to the records. And that they were faxed to Westerville Police Department pursuant to a subpoena on July 3rd of 2020.
Okay, so the state's position in this case is that before the records come in, they have to be in compliance with the rules to admit documents. Is that your position?
Correct.
Okay, all right, I understand what the question is.
But Your Honor,
Cole's got some homework to do. Go ahead.
Your Honor, we would like the opportunity to respond again in the morning to the motion as to the relevancy and admissibility of these records.
More
That was
catfighting in
filed
the
at lunchtime
morning.
before the court makes its
She's
decision.
trying to figure out what they want to use it.
And I understand there's,
They want-
I guess
she wants
first
it all
question
in.
we have here is how do we get the record in? And the second question you're raising is, should they be in for purposes of relevance or whatever, or I guess relevance.
And she was
Okay, I
Did the
think,
entire record come in or pieces of it or what? Yes.
She wanted to know which part of the records she was going to
Okay.
use to argue. It
And
was,
she told her
Anticipation,
all
the
of
court
it.
like to have us tender a copy of the records.
yeah,
and
she just wants her to
affidavit
narrow it down
that may not be a bad idea.
Exactly.
We'll do that right now.
and get them to. She wants more time to prepare her argument in or direct.
Okay, anything else anyone would like to place on the record or bring to the court's attention?
Okay, a little too
You
much
guys good?
estrogen in this room.
Nothing from the state.
Nothing, Your Honor, I am tendering the affidavit with respect to the records and also the fact sheet that Serenity sent to Westerville Police Department, which is on top of the
records themselves.
the counseling records.
We'll get these back to you as well.
Ally would like to give a lot of copies. She's thorough.
It's good to be haunted.
Yes.
All
She
right.
keeps me straight, let's be clear.
Okay, have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow. See you at 8:30.
All right. Pause that. I started reading Matt's book this weekend. Just barely. I got sidetracked, so but he talks about, it's really good so far, the little bit I have read. He talks about in there why he didn't tell when he called them to his house that day, why he didn't say that she was suicidal is because he did that for his son. And he talks about how that experience with them carting his son off to help him made everything worse. And he didn't want to
His most recent son?
The one,
Joey?
the one that passed away the year, Joey. He talks about, because the other one died of a medical thing, I believe.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But yeah, he talks about in there that's the reason that he didn't say anything, because if she was just out doing something and not gone, that they didn't want her to be carted off somewhere for help by
it would have been
by
a
the state.
mandatory 72-hour hold.
Yes, and it's not our our help in this country is not help.
I've heard of situations where like somebody was really, really drunk and they went to the hospital, and then in their drunken ramblings they say stuff like they were asking her, have you ever been sad? Are you wanting to hurt yourself? Are you depressed?
Mm-hmm.
And they took that to mean she was or self-deleting tendencies.
Right.
Well, then she ended up being held longer than 72 hours, not because of anything she was doing, but because of the bureaucracy. Meanwhile, she was losing her mind in there.
I forgot to grab your link.
No worries.
So I'm going to do that while I'm over here.
Pull this up.
If you want to.
Sure.
Yeah, so but that's like in the very first chapter he talks about that's why he didn't say anything when they came to the house. And it's I got sidetracked, so I didn't get very far in, but what I have read so far has been really good, and it fills in a lot of like the little things that the trial isn't getting. And
of course he would have had to testify to get all that admitted.
Right.
So
and clearly he didn't need to, so.
No, thankfully. Where did that tab go?
It's good that you have it, because I'm pretty sure I closed my stream. Okay,
no worries. I can just run it from mine.
I couldn't figure out why I had two of them open, and because one was my stream of day 3.
Hey, Crime Spies. How you doing?
Hi, Crime Spies.
Your Honor, the state would like to be heard on the issue of the therapist records. If now is the appropriate time, I'm prepared to address the court. Thank you, Your Honor, and I appreciate that.
Judge is just thinking, oh God, more of this. I'll put it at 1.25. Let me know if it's too fast.
That's what I had it on the last part too. I just started it out
to review
earlier.
the case law that applies to what defense counsel is seeking to do with these therapy records. I know the court.
What is that? What you want to do with records? I don't know.
No, I'm reviewing. We do not believe defense counsel has even reached the threshold of admissibility under the rules of evidence to have these therapy records admitted whole cloth. And here's why, Your Honor. If you look at these medical records and these therapy records, they contain not only medical diagnoses, but statements purported to be from Emily Noble. The case law and the hearsay exceptions state that when you are considering admitting a medical diagnosis as a business record, the court must engage in a multi-pronged analysis. And there are multiple prongs of this analysis that counsel does not meet. Namely, Your Honor, and I'll give you.
You got it.
For you.
It is Exhibit 100.
Fifth District, State v. Boyer. The case, I'll provide this to you, Your Honor, if you wanted, is 2015, Ohio 4951.
Are you watching a
In
game?
that case.
Yeah,
the
we
court
clinched
held
yesterday.
stated That in
We're
order
getting-
for the record to come in,
Seriously, we're gonna get swept by the Astros, but because the Cardinals won, we're in the wild card.
not only are several things that have to be done, but I'm going to point out the things that counsel cannot meet. Specifically, that the diagnosis must not have rested solely upon the subjective complaint of the patient. The diagnosis must have been made by a qualified person. We have no
Is there a
statement.
diagnosis in these records?
We believe that the records of, that yes, there are notes from the therapist regarding diagnosis. If the court looks at the records as a whole, you will see those.
Thank you,
If
Nick.
the use of the record is for the purpose of proving the truth of the matter
Oh,
asserted at
yes.
trial,
Thank you,
it
Ghost.
must be the product of the parties seeking its admission.
Thanks,
These are
Nick.
not the product of the defense seeking its admission. The diagnosis must have been the result of a well-known and accepted objective testing and
I have
examining
the-
practices and procedures. We have no
I
evidence
can
of that.
do that
contained in
real
the
quick,
affidavits
so I
that
have
we
it.
So that's the
Do
one
you?
part of the analysis as to whether
Yeah,
or
I
not
have it
the
on my
per se
description.
contains these records of the medical diagnosis
Oh, yeah, it
are
is in the
admissible.
description.
And they simply are not, because counsel cannot meet this threshold. And this threshold is reiterated by other cases that I can provide. to the
I'll
court.
go ahead and post
The
it to
other
your
analysis the court must look
screen.
at are these statements
Oh, thank
contained in there that say, client reported. Client being Emily Noble's statement to the therapist. And counsel is seeking to admit those, I'm not sure under what basis. Is it statement for a medical purpose? Is it statement as a
I got it.
business record?
Oh.
It is not statement contained in a business record. If it's statements for
Wait,
a
no, I
medical
don't.
purpose,
I
we
think
have
I
to have
posted the wrong
testimony
link
that
for your.
shows that these statements were made and applied for a
I
medical
did. I
purpose or
posted the wrong
diagnosis.
link for you
can't-
on
simply
mine.
Cannot infer that
Unpin.
statements made by Emily Noble to her therapist had anything to do with her diagnosis. There has to be expert testimony to that fact.
No, it's the wrong
I
one.
posted the I
Is not
posted the
qualified to
link
make
for
that
the
And Your Honor, I can
Law
point
and
to case
Cuff
law for the
channel.
state record for the court regarding it. State
You go into the bio, you can find it.
2003, Ohio,
I got it now.
4092. There must be foundational testimony to admit statements for medical purposes. The custodian of records, specifically in State v. Holmes, the court said is not in a position to provide that foundational testimony, Your Honor. Now, regarding defense counsel's assertion that she wants to use these records with Detective Grubbs, that's simply improper. And the case that establishes that, Your Honor, is Henry McKenzie, 1994, Westlaw 667-972, where the court indicated that Evidence Rule 803 does not permit a
there we
witness
go.
testimony of the content of business records based solely upon the review of those records. That is exactly what she would be asking Detective Grubbs to do. The rules and the case law simply do not allow that, Your Honor. I have additional cases for Your Honor to support the state's
What did
position.
Detective Grubb do with these records when he obtained them as part of his investigation?
You reviewed them?
Was that part of his evaluation in terms of whether?
Then it's part of the investigation.
I can't speak for Detective Grubbs regarding that, but
Then it's a record.
the decision on whether or not to present a case to the grand jury is the prosecutor's office decision.
Well, I understand the process, but I'm saying part of his, I mean, obviously you receive information from the investigating officer as to all the facts he's gathered. How does he use these records, if at all, regarding part of his determination that the case ought to go forward?
Your Honor, if you want to inquire, or if counsel to inquire of Detective Grubbs outside the presence of the jury before his testimony, I would make that suggestion.
Oh
But
my God.
reviewing the records is not enough to allow.
This is
him
how
to
scared she
testify
is
on
of her
that.
case.
She knows that those records aren't good for her.
So,
Bring those up when you finish up there.
yep, I can email them to Nicole, Your Honor, if you would like email copies, or do you want my hard
I would
copies?
like your records right now.
You're asking me to make a decision pretty quickly, so you might as
So,
well.
Your Honor, I'm asking you not to make a decision pretty quickly. Counsel brought this on the
You
court.
want me to make a decision sometime, right?
Absolutely, Your
So
Honor.
that's
But
fairly quickly if it's
we're
today.
here because defense counsel filed their motion during lunch. All right, Your Honor? We're not asking you to do anything because they want the records admitted.
Okay, I think I understand your argument. If you can give me those copies, I'd appreciate it. Your cases.
Yes, right now, Your Honor.
How dare they make me work through lunch?
My scribbles and highlighting.
Thank you. All right, anything you'd like to say as to how we should proceed?
Thank you, Your Honor. We did file a motion on this just briefly, citing hearsay evidence rules 8033, 8034, and 8036. I would just note, Your Honor, that part of the business records exception, which is 8036, that I know this court is familiar with, is particularly with respect to medical records, is part of the
Right.
justification, if you will, is that the therapist in this situation, that being Angel
Yeah.
Kessler, would have no reason, right, to
Yeah, make it a little more
input
subtle.
inaccurate information in a medical record, because by definition, that information is coming to our medical setting. I would just say that 8033, 8034, and 8036, I believe, get us into the get us those records in under each of those rules. I will also, I just want to address the relevancy issue. I think this is clearly a case about either it's a murder or it's a suicide. It's just as simple as that. And these records are from
Yeah.
August 19th to November 2000,
Right.
August 2019 to November 2019, the time period in between Joey's suicide and Emily's remains being found.
'Cause she
Joey's
knows
suicide
that it's
is
on her
directly relevant
side.
and dispositive
Yeah.
of the issue, given
And
And
you
the
don't
judge
want
is
to-
leaning, she can tell the judge is leaning towards letting it in,
I also
so.
think
Yeah.
it's relevant with respect to
Because he
rebutting
used it in his
Thomas's
investigation.
which is that Emily only went to counseling as a result of a condition of FMLA, which is not accurate. The medical records speak for themselves as to why she sought counseling in August of 2019.
Oh,
Lastly, I want to say this.
And your too kind of imply that she's there because of FMLA. I hear what you're saying.
You mean because of the disability for which she qualifies under FMLA?
Now, there's some language in the record that seems to give an indication she's there because of that, but it's not definitive. But go ahead. I don't mean to get you off base.
And I don't disagree that to qualify for FMLA, you need to have
hi,
a
Drive.
diagnosis of some sort. Your Honor, I also
Hey.
would just say to the court, I think the records, the treatment history and the counseling records themselves is separate and apart from the single line of diagnosis that is in the records. The diagnosis, which is in the records, which the state has argued about this morning, if the court should think that the records come in but the diagnosis doesn't, absent any additional testimony, I have no issue with that. We can redact the diagnosis, which is the one or two lines, I think at the bottom of the page, and then at the end of the counseling records, I know that the therapist changes the diagnosis. We have no issue with the diagnosis being removed to address the issues of that the state has raised. Otherwise, Your Honor, we would rest on our motion.
Do you, what particularly, are you looking for statements that she made in here or statements made by the counselor or both?
Statements made by the counselor, Your Honor, no. And I think that falls under the diagnosis. Statements made by Emily as to present sense impression, what she was undergoing, what she was feeling and thinking at the time immediately following Joey's death. The counseling records.
We're on to day 3 now.
And so I believe present sense impression as to what she was thinking and feeling on the heels of that suicide. Particularly, Your Honor, I also think it's relevant because in their opening argument, and I understand it's just argument, the state argued how she was brave and how
Yes,
she had.
I have the right link at the top now. So you won't be going over to Lake Law and Cut.
Redacting that aspect of any conversation about what occurred when she was 7 years old.
No, separate issue, Your Honor.
Okay.
I'm saying thematically, they were saying that Emily wouldn't have killed herself after Joey because she had rebounded from so much suicide before. But the records also rebut that rebounding issue because she's clearly struggling after Joey's suicide, and the records speak to themselves on that. So I'm not seeking to get into therapist statements. Again, I've already said my thoughts on the diagnosis. Also, Your Honor, I respect the court's order with respect to the allegation about prior sexual abuse. The court wants to redact that from the records. No issue there either. I think the Joey suicide is directly relevant. And for the hearsay exceptions that I stated, I think the records come in. I want to say one last thing as to how I would use them with Detective Grubbs. When I say use them, I think the records speak for themselves. I would be obviously work with opposing counsel to redact the areas that I just mentioned, but my anticipation of Detective Grubbs would be something along the lines of this. During the course of your investigation, did you or other members of your office subpoena mental health records for Emily Noble? Yes, we did. From where did you get those records? When could you tell the jurors the time frame when she sought mental health treatment from Serenity? Boom, boom. Show him the exhibit. Done. The records speak for themselves.
Oh, thanks,
Right.
Joy.
I don't need his interpretation of them. That's not what I would seek, and I wouldn't seek. I think they speak for themselves, and they would go back as an exhibit. And if the jurors were
Drive.
interested in them, they could read them.
Your Honor, may I respond?
Much appreciated.
Sure.
Thank you, Your Honor. First, counsel is saying that Emily Noble's statements regarding in therapy are present sense impression. However, the state has been prohibited every step of the way from eliciting testimony regarding Emily's present state of mind after she suffered a tragedy, and I'm using defense counsel's word, specifically with witness Amy Thomas. That's a lot of tragedy. When counsel went through absolutely everything that's happened in Emily's life, the state was prohibited from following up as to Emily's present sense impression. It's quite disingenuous
They
to now
did.
argue that these records containing her statements should be admissible when the state has been hamstrung by the objections to allowing that testimony to come in. Your Honor, with respect to these records, Now counsel says, yes, last night it was, we wanted it in whole cloth. Now it's, oh no, we can pick and choose what we send back to the jury. Your Honor, these records.
You asked for the no diagnosis.
Protect the truth and veracity contained in the records. To redact and parse them out without having the therapist or an expert to lay the foundational testimony for the jury to understand what is contained in those records. There's just no legal basis to do that, Your Honor. And I point again to State v. Holmes that says a custodian of records, which is the only thing counsel has provided by way of affidavit, is wholly not able to opine on whether or not statements contained in medical records are made for the purpose of medical diagnosis. We have no one here that will come in and say that right now, Your Honor. And until that happens, those records and the statements contained therein should not be put before the jury.
They're evidence.
All right. We're going to take a quick break and then we're going to jury.
I'm done with you, catty witches.
Jariah, you want to do a quick recap?
Yeah, this is Ohio trial for Matheau Moore.
Yes.
He went out with his wife one night or one day. They went out and did stuff for her birthday, and the next day when he woke up, she wasn't home, and she's just not here. And then come 6 o'clock, she still wasn't. And so he started calling friends and whatnot. And one of her friends said, you need to call the cops. This isn't like her. Something's wrong. So he did. They searched. They didn't find her. Couldn't find her for 4 months, I believe it was.
Yeah.
And then they found her body hung with a USB cord around her neck out in some woods that she used to walk near and forage in. And Matt went on trial last year for her murder. And, well, we had spoilers. Yeah. We had spoilers since he was on the show last time.
Yeah.
And so he was acquitted. And
I mean, basically they're arguing that he unalived her, but
right.
They're arguing that it was just out of sheer depression because everybody in her life had.
Yeah, she had a ton of people in her life, including a year before her stepson had hung himself from a tree with a cord.
And her first husband and her parents had recently passed, and she had friends that she helped with, cancer, and I mean and
AIDS and all kinds of. She's had a lot of tragedy in her life. So,
wait, son of a bitch! My cat's knocked one of my paintings off. Damn it! Higher.
Yeah, they have a decent sized break here, I think. Oh, and I have a thing for you.
There you go. Thank you very much. Good morning, members of the jury.
No worries, Jerry.
Was admonition last night? We good? Ready to go? Thank you very much. State ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Defense ready to proceed? Ready to go?
Yes, Your Honor, sorry.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was waiting till you finish your conversation. Man. That's all right. No problem. Go ahead.
Would you ladies like to join us?
I do.
Sir, can you state your name, spell your last name for the record, please?
James Howe, Howe.
And, sir, where are you currently employed?
City of Columbus Division of Police.
What do you do for the City of Columbus Division of Police?
I currently work in our digital forensics unit.
And this is always a loaded question, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Can you explain to the jury what digital forensics, what is that?
In our unit, we handle all digital evidence, whether it's from a mobile device, like a digital video recorder, computer. If it's digital, we normally extract data from it and then present that to detectives, prosecutors, defense attorneys.
And when you say digital data, is that consists of cell phones, computers, USB drives, hard drives, basically anything that can store electronic data?
Yes.
And how long have you been working in that capacity?
I've been doing digital forensics since 2012.
Okay. And in order to handle digital forensics and
I don't
on
know.
a regular basis, do you have any specialized training that you've undergone in order to do that?
Yes.
Give us
They
an
want to
idea of
make
some of
it
the
sound
trainings
like
that
it's,
you've undergone in
oh,
order to complete that
serious.
expertise.
Look.
I hold certifications in the area of digital forensics and digital evidence. I've trained with the Secret Service pretty extensively at the National Computer Forensic Institute in Hoover, Alabama. I've also trained in digital forensics with the Federal Bureau of Investigation and several private companies.
Give us a ballpark. How many various trainings have you undergone over the course of your career involving digital forensics?
I'd say probably 100 or more. I don't have an exact count.
And a lot of those, would they entail cell phones?
Yes.
Okay. And prior to working in digital forensics, did you have other law enforcement experience?
Yes.
And can you explain to the jury your previous law enforcement experience?
I've been with the City of Columbus since 2001. From 2001 to 2008, I worked patrol in the South Linden area of Columbus. In 2008, I went to our homicide bureau to work in the assault unit. And then in 2013, I was in our homicide unit until I took a role in the digital forensics unit once it was created in 2018.
And did you have training that you underwent prior to becoming a general law enforcement officer?
Yes.
Can you explain to the jury what that training entailed?
I completed our basic training academy, which is almost 7 months. I went through our detective bureau training, which was 2 weeks. And then I've been to several post trainings for like interview and interrogation, things like that.
And other than the initial trainings, is training pretty much regular and ongoing?
Yes.
So we talked a little bit about forensics, and I'm going to focus you more today on cell phones. Fair enough?
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk generally.
Yeah, it was.
How would someone reach out to you in order to do a cell phone analysis?
There's a couple different ways that we do it. We'll take emails. People will come bring us the evidence directly. Sometimes we'll go to scenes. Typically, a detective will reach out to us, give us an overview of what they're looking for and what type of evidence they have. And then we'll make a determination on how we're going to handle it.
Okay, so if someone comes into the office, hands you a cell phone, and asks you to do an analysis of that, what is the first step of your procedure?
The first thing we're going to do is secure the device. We're going to make sure that we take it off the network. We're going to talk to the detective. We're going to figure out if we're dealing, what type of legal authority we're dealing with, whether it be a search warrant, consent, because that's going to determine how we handle it and what we do. The first thing we're going to do is take it off the network, so that way no data is changed on the phone.
When you say you take it off the network so no data has changed, can you explain that a little bit more, please?
Again, it'll depend on the state of the device and what type of authority we have to use it. What we'll typically do is put the device into airplane mode and likely eject the SIM card from the device. Those two things will help ensure that it's off the network. It's not going to send or receive.
Well, at least they did that.
Once you take that initial step, what happens next?
Again, it's going to determine the state of the device, whether it's on, whether it's off. If it's off, we're going to leave it off until we figure out, what we're going to do with it. We'll do some research on the device because different makes, models of phones have to be handled differently. Once we figure out what we're going to do and we have that authority, that's when we'll start our process. If the device is on, we'll leave it powered on. We'll supply power.
Did
to
he
the device
throw one around
so
his
that way
office?
The device doesn't turn off because
We're gonna spend an afternoon
presents a whole different
tossing it
circumstance.
around.
I hope so. Otherwise, he's not really an expert.
The device is on and accessible to you. Okay. Assuming the device is on and accessible to you, and assuming you have legal authority to then either search or do what you want with that cell phone, what do you do next?
In that case, we would determine if we had a password or not. If we had a password, we'd manually put it into airplane mode and then eject that SIM card from the device. If we didn't have a passcode and the device was turned on, we would use what's called a Faraday box, Ramsey box in our office. What that is a box that prevents any network connectivity.
And is it fair to assume then the next step is for you to start accessing the phone?
Yes.
And walk me through those steps and procedures when it comes to actually accessing the phone and then what happens at that point.
I like that
Again,
he
depending on make and model.
knows
In
the
this case,
proper
it was
steps
a
for doing
Apple
this,
device.
though.
We have several different tools that we can use to access that data. We're always going to go for the richest data set. So in this case, we're going to attempt to get what's called a full file system extraction off of the phone. And that'll give us the most amount of data for evidence purposes.
You mentioned a full file system extraction. Are there different types of extractions?
Yes, on Apple devices, iPhone specifically, you're going to be able to get what's called a logical extraction, which is an iTunes backup, essentially. That's going to be the lowest level.
Hi,
and
Melissa.
then you're going to be able to get
Hi,
a full
Mel.
file system if you have the correct
How
tools.
you doing?
And the
Nice to meet you
differing
yesterday.
file extractions are attempts to gather or to get as much information.
Oh yeah, I saw she
Yes.
was on one of the
Yeah.
streams you were doing.
What types of
Chandler,
physical tools or
Alderson.
software tools are used
Okay.
during this process?
We use Celebrite's UFED, which is a universal
Oh, yeah, I
forensic
went-
extraction device.
Went and did
to
other things yesterday.
extract data from most phones. We have other tools in our
No worries.
office that are a little higher level. And then we use what's called physical analyzer to parse that data out once we get the extraction.
Now, you've used the word extraction a few times, and when I think of extraction, I think of taking from one thing and kind of putting it over here to the side. But what do you mean by extraction?
Have you
With
ever
the
analyzed
extraction,
Mark
what we'll do is
Jensen's
we'll
hard
create an
drive?
image of the device contents. It's a copy of what's on the device, and that's what we will work off of rather than work on the actual device itself.
Now, why would you want to use the digital copy to work on or to search or look through things as opposed to the physical device itself?
With the physical device itself, if you manually go through the device, phones they can't be right blocked. So you're going to change things. It's just the nature of a cell phone. So working off of a copy with our software allows us to make sure we minimize any changes that will occur on the phone itself. For example, if we were to manually scroll through, like say text messages, and there was an unread text message on the phone, and we happened to click on that, it would then flip what's called a flag, and that message would go from unread to read.
So by looking at the image, let me ask you this, the digital image, that extraction, does that create a perfect extraction or perfect copy of what's on the phone?
I'm sorry.
Physical phone? Yeah, let me ask you a better way. So when we're talking about the extraction, talked about taking an image of what is on the physical phone. Does that make a copy of what's on the phone and allows it to be searchable? Or does that in and of itself change some of the data?
Yeah, so we'll have an image of the phone that we then put into our analysis software, and then that will display the contents that we were able to extract.
Salbert.
I know. What can I say?
And then when you're looking through that extraction or that image and you're reviewing items, does that change those flags or those items that you discussed on the
I bet he did, Baker.
So would
I plead
that
the
be that
fifth.
evidence or what's on the phone untouched and in the state it was when airplane mode was turned on?
Yes.
Are there some items when doing extractions of phones that just aren't recovered, and what do you have to do in those cases if they exist to look at those additional items?
There can be. Obviously, there's a lot of different applications, probably hundreds of thousands at this point, with the various like Android store or the Apple store. So not all the software parses that type of data. So there might be a new application on the market that the tools just don't support. That information is stored in databases on the phone, and we can manually go in and look at some of that if we have to.
And if you have to manually go through
Oh, hey,
an
Luna.
application or something of that nature, how's that done?
We will, again, in that physical analyzer software, which we use, we would go straight to that. We would locate the application. We would go to the database, and then it's just manually looking through like the raw data and kind of piecing stuff together.
Now, you mentioned a few
Good
times
job, Mel.
Physical analyzer. Can you give us a bigger picture idea of what physical analyzer is?
That's, again, the analysis software that we use. That's what we load that extraction image into. The software then looks at the whole image and kind of categorizes all the data for us. It puts it in a displayable manner where we're able to read it.
Is it fair to say it puts it in a more readable format other than a bunch of zeros and ones and computer jargon?
Yes.
And by putting it in physical analyzer, does that make it more searchable or able to find whatever may have been on the phone?
Yes, it categorizes most of the data, and then we're also able to manually go through that and search through it if we're looking for something specific.
Once you're able to do an extraction on a phone and determine that extraction was done properly and readable through physical analyzer, in your unit, how does that typically work? Do you review the data or do you then pass it on to someone else to review the data at that point?
Both ways. It depends on the experience level of the
Ooh,
detective.
both
We have some
ways.
detectives who are very good at going through the data and they want to manually go through it themselves. So they'll ask for what they typically refer to as a full dump. And then we'll have other detectives who aren't as comfortable doing it. We'll sit down with them. They'll specifically tell us what they're looking for. And then we'll search through the data and tag everything that related to whatever it is they may be looking for.
Okay. And is that in part because sometimes you don't know what the case may be about or what might be relevant evidence?
Yes, a lot of times we aren't involved in the case initially. It could be several days, weeks, or months after, sometimes
Sure.
years before we actually get the data and look at it.
Have you ever found 800 peen
Now,
picks organized by
something I want to
size?
talk about here. Well, you mentioned Cellrite Reader.
Asking for a friend.
Familiar with Celebrate Reader?
Yes.
Can you explain to the jury what Celebrate Reader is?
Celebrate Reader, the UFED Reader is Celebrate's version. It's a pared down version of Physical Analyzer. Basically, it allows the detectives or prosecutors or defense attorneys to go through that report. What we'll do is once we've done our analysis, the extraction's finished, it's been placed in the Physical Analyzer software. We've done everything that we're going to do with it at that point. We'll create what's called a UFED Reader report from that Physical Analyzer software, and then we'll provide that to whoever needs it.
And again, then that would allow whoever that gets passed on to the ability to search the information that was extracted in a more user-friendly way?
Yes.
Again, that process, does that change any of the nature of the data that was extracted from the phone?
No.
I
Does that
know.
change any of the data that would have originally been on the phone up until the point that?
Let's go.
No.
Are you able to create something then called extraction reports?
Yes.
Oh my
And
God.
Can you explain to the jury what an
You
extraction
want me to
report
like
generally is?
skip this?
So
a
the
bit or no?
UFED gives you several different options. You can do PDF reports, Excel reports.
I don't- it doesn't matter to me.
Depends what
It's
the
just blah, blah,
end
blah.
person is looking for, what format.
Oh, they're in the records.
Also, these top two portions of source extraction, can you identify that as well, please?
That's going to be the date and time that the extraction started and when it was completed.
I'm going to flip now to page
I don't know about Mark, but I bet Sal
8 of
does.
9. And actually, I'm going to start first on page 2 of
Oh.
9, just to show this is a section labeled device information, correct?
Yes.
Oh,
Now going to
man.
page 3 of 9.
Ooh.
I'm going to notate here towards the top of the page, MSISDN. Can you explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury that area of information?
Yeah, that's the mobile subscriber identifier, and you can look at just that data rather than searching through. So you can search you can do it a couple of different ways. You can search the whole image that we've taken to see if that, whatever it is you're looking for, shows up, or you can look in just this particular artifact. So if you were to, for example, to double click on that activity sensory data, you could search just through that database.
Okay, and would that then bring up a section and some of the subsections on the screen for the jury?
Yes.
There's an item a little bit further down, about a third of the way down, device connectivity, and there appear to be 1,173 items. What types of information we find under device connectivity?
Yeah,
If your device is connecting to,
they do.
let's say, Wi-Fi routers, or it's seeing cell tower IDs, things like that, in the connectivity, you can see that type of information.
when they actually have
Up here,
something,
cell
they go
towers,
pretty
but are you
quick.
able to use cell tower and device connectivity to gather some location data?
Yes.
And also there's a section down here labeled locations as well.
Yes.
What types of information could those items provide?
So if you're looking at the cell towers up there, what that is logging is when the device sees what it thinks is a cell tower, just based on some information that the device receives. So it would be the physical tower itself where it thinks that is. The
He didn't even throw his
locations,
phone around the
is
office.
the more accurate place that we would go to look. So if you're taking photographs and you have like location services enabled, if you're using GPS on like an application, at that point, we'd be able to pull some information from there.
And the next item I want to look at is
He also has
device
a
events. The next one down
soft
from the
cover
connectivity.
version coming out soon. That's what he's doing right now, actually, is working on getting that ready to go.
Yeah. He said he'd try to be
He
here,
may,
but
he may stop in, he said, but he's has a deadline, so
yeah, 6th.
he's
so.
a busy man.
Try what types of information would be entailed in device events?
Yes. So your Apple
yeah.
device really tracks like everything that you do. So as far as
Shocking.
it's for other connectivity, like if you
Everything we
wanna
use
say,
tracks
start a
everything we
text
do,
on
though.
your iPhone and you finish it on your iPad and then you read it on like your Mac device. It tracks all of that activity. So in this case, you could potentially see if a device was plugged in,
Let me
if
do
an
that.
application was in the foreground, the background, just any type of device activity. It's just a lot of information. If you're using a particular app at a time, at a specific time, if you move an app from looking at it to go to another app, it tracks that.
If you're watching Pornhub and you go to
You
landscape
mentioned,
mode, it tracks
so
all
plugging the
that.
phone in or
I should have
unplugging
done
the
that a
phone,
long
is
time
that
ago,
something that would be
Eris.
Under device events or something else?
That would be other device events.
What about turning a phone on, turning a phone off? Is that something that's logged and would be in the report here?
Yes, you could see a device turned on, a device unlocked, a device powered off.
Is it suspicious if it's powered
if the
off?
screen just lights up and then goes back off?
And where is that information contained in?
That's going to be in the Knowledge C database. So you would see that under the device events.
Okay. What about if I'm looking at?
And what about if you
image
put the
instantly on
phone
my
in the freezer?
Sort of an up and down on my phone, and I turn it sideways to more of that like landscape format.
What if you
Yes.
rub it on the back?
Yes,
really
you would see if
sensually?
you were in the portrait or the landscape. If a device rotates, it logs all of that.
Just a little bit in the middle there, instant messages. Can you explain, is that different than the messages section that you described earlier?
Yes, that can break down like if you're using, they used to do them all together. The instant messages, they break them out like if you're using WhatsApp and things like that to go back and forth with messages.
There's a section down here labeled notes. Can you identify to the jury what types of information would be in the notes section?
Yes, in the notes section, the Apple device has it's just labeled notes. You can go in and write things. You can store photographs there, things of that nature.
A little bit further down now, searched items appears to be on the report. What types of information would we expect to be contained under searched items?
That can be information that was searched on the device.
Thank you.
If you're looking through an application, if you're looking through like a web browser, things of that nature.
Just under that, social media.
That'll break down the different social media accounts, things that were going on with those accounts.
And then I think the last one on this page at the very bottom, web history.
Yes.
What types of information is typically contained in web history?
You'd be able to go through the browser history. So the stock application on an Apple device is the Safari browser, but you
Hi,
can use other
Lefty.
browsers as well. So it would break those down.
Now, I believe, let me just ask you this. So in these columns, the columns on the right-hand side, those two columns that we identified earlier, there appear to be some red items under there that I marked to say deleted. Can you explain what the difference would be between?
I was
the first
talking
number and maybe
with
some of the deleted
David and
items?
some other people about
The first number is the total
Microphones
number of artifacts that were
for
recovered.
his-
So in this particular,
we were talking the other day with David about microphones for when he goes to the Crumley hearings.
Oh yeah.
And I am now getting ads for those microphones that were being talked about.
When you were watching the stream or on the stream?
We were just talking in a just a group of us just talking, and
Okay.
he was getting some suggestions for what to get for that, so he can have
Okay.
good audio, and the microphones that were suggested are now popping up all over my phone.
in the case it was 841. The ones marked in red that say 180, those were 180 items that were recovered that were marked for deletion.
And when you say marked for deletion, what is that?
It had been what you would typically think of as deleted, where the user's not going to see it any longer. The way deletion actually works is we're able to recover it as long as it hasn't been overwritten with new data.
So if there's an item in this one that I marked 180 deleted, does that notate items that were marked for deletion but were recovered from the extraction?
Yes.
And if I were to have clicked then or double click search items and it pulls up that separate report, would that separate report contain both the items that weren't marked for deletion and the items that were marked for deletion?
In this case, yes.
Okay. And would that be notated on those reports, whether that item was deleted or not?
Yes, you would be able to go through and see which item was marked for deletion.
I know we're not going through every single line item, but your testimony based on these line items in a general sense, those columns and so forth, does that testimony fit for all the items that we're walking through or not walking through on your report?
Yes.
I think the last one here I want to focus on is this one here called timeline.
Nice.
It appears to be a pretty large number over here on the right hand side.
Did you order
Can you
some?
explain to the jury what the timeline means?
Farrell wants
The
the website.
timeline is all the artifacts grouped together.
You got a link?
By date and time. And it'll show you the application usage, the device events, text messages sent, received in a.
No, I know.
So
Hey, Jariah, how's your team doing today?
single item, does timeline sort of congregate a lot of those items together and put them in a linear order?
Yes.
What types of items are generally located in the timeline section?
Pretty much anything you see in the artifacts, it's going to be device usage. So what we'll do, what we typically use timeline for is if we know at a specific date and time that we're looking for, the first thing we'll do is jump into that timeline, start to go through it, filter that time down, and then look at what was going on at the device at that time. So you may see an application come up in the background. You may see a text message sent, a photograph taken, just things like that in the order that it was done.
So does the timeline function in these reports give you or the investigating detective a chance to look at a period of time and see what the phone may have been doing during that
Nice.
period of time?
Yes.
Or what the user is doing on that phone or a user is doing on that phone during that period of time?
Yes, what was occurring during that specific time frame.
I think she said team.
And just since we're here as well, there's a.
But I
area
said
of
it-
data files,
I
and again,
was talking about his
some
fantasy
reports,
football team.
That's a lot
I
of
did
just
hear
data.
team, though.
The two most important ones that we typically get into,
Well.
I'm sorry, the three most important ones are the database.
I mean, if he wants to answer that too, I guess.
And again, all these items under content that we've described are searchable either by those specific functions or in the timeline situation, kind of putting all those together.
Yes.
Or most of those together.
Yes.
If I may have just one moment here. Thank you, Detective. I have no further questions at this time.
Cross, please. No questions? All right. You folks have any questions? Feel free to write them down. All right, you have some?
Who are you asking, Jamie? The collective? What is there? Okay, I was gonna say you're fast forwarding now.
Great. Are the records extracted or collected on the iPhone saved anywhere else? In other words, if the phone is destroyed, say burned, would there be any way to retrieve information?
So two different ways, if I'm understanding the question correctly, is we can pull data from third parties, so cell phone carriers. We can go to Apple itself, individual specific applications. Say if we have a Snapchat account, or
We've had him on. He's busy right now. He might pop on later. He said
it depends on the actual
he
amount of damage. We have people
is
who can
working on
repair
getting
those.
the
For example, I have a
softcover
phone,
version of his book
that I'm
out.
currently extracting data from that has a bullet hole through it. So it is possible, but it depends on the level of damage to get it from the device itself.
Thank you. If someone takes out a SIM card and puts in another, does the info on the phone go with the SIM card? Is it then lost if another SIM card is in its place? Those are two questions.
With that information, we would
Yeah,
be able to track
he
through the
is.
phone
I've been
itself or through the
texting
cell
back and
phone
forth
carrier,
with
that
him,
SIM
so.
card exchange. There's identification numbers on the card, what's called an ICCID and an MZ number, an IMSI number. We would see that change, and the device does track that.
Okay. Will the web history include incognito?
And his book so far is really
Yes.
good. I suggested
will the
already,
search
and I
items
just started
include
it.
Incognito mode.
Yes.
Were the items
number 4 deletion may need deleted by the user.
I'll mention that to
I'm not
him.
sure I can read the question. I'm sorry.
That'd
The
be
items
awesome.
numbered for deletion may need deleted by user or automatic.
Both. It would depend. We would have to go in and then look at that deletion and see what occurred. There are things that
I like it so far.
For example, where they will
He's-
just automatically delete something, where you could have your text messages set up to delete, like with an iPhone. After
It's
a certain amount of
written
time. So
the
while
way
may not
that
be user activity going in, and
Matt
manually deleting
kind
something
of
would be
is.
this-
It's not,
And will the timeline list items?
but I like that it
Time
has
zone of the phone at the time of the.
where he
effect.
was coming from with
Yeah,
different
we can
things that
go
he
in
did
and
or
look
said or
ensure that it's
or
the
his
correct
life
time
with
zone, or at least
Emily
the
and
time
things
zone
like
that's on the
that.
device
So
at the time.
it's a good fill-in
Thank you.
for
Does that raise
if
any
you
questions
followed
for
the
state?
trial.
Well, I hate to say one question, it always ends up more than that.
That's
but,
fine, as many as you want.
So you talked about the SIM card and. a
It's
couple of
definitely
numbers,
readable. It's
where the
not.
SIM
I'm
card
not
is
saying
from.
it's not a
It's,
good
it's the easiest way to
written
think of that,
thing.
like a
It's
VIN
just
number on
not.
that car.
Yes, the ICC ID number is essentially the serial number of that
Well, I mean,
card.
it's his
the
first
one if you've
book,
ever
so-
seen a SIM card.
Right, it's his
typically
first
printed on
book,
the
and
outside.
but I mean
The
it's
IMSI number
easy to
is
read.
internal.
Yeah.
It's on the or on the SIM memory that we're able to extract. We can get that from the carrier also.
Nothing further. Thank you.
Any questions from the defense?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. Just one. You used just now the term user activity, and I've heard you use usage before. I just want to, for the jury, make sure that that I'm understanding. User activity, would you agree with me, excludes data that may not be the exclusive result of human interaction with the device?
I have
plans
no
to.
idea. But does he? Okay, I
So
was
let me
going
give
to
you
say I
an
don't
example.
know.
So if user activity excludes activities such as answered calls, read chats, that kind of thing. Does that make sense? User activity is when I'm really interfacing with my phone.
Yes.
Okay. And then there's usage, which is a different terminology. Is that correct?
Yes.
And how is usage defined?
They can be both. It would show usage if you're using like the application at the time, but there can be things that applications can update. They can send you notifications, stuff like that, and you could see that would be listed as usage. That device is, I'm sorry, that application is being.
I really like them for road
guess
trips.
that-
When we drive back home,
Kind of a larger umbrella.
I usually
Usage,
find
user
a
activity
book
is
to
when
throw
I'm
on.
interfacing with the phone.
Yes, and that's where the timeline would be really important because you would want to look at the before and after of what's going on to determine if it's user activity or if it's just the application or whatever, doing something. It's
Spoilers, Christine. Spoilers.
Appreciate it. Can we set that? Call your next witness.
They call it Detective Robson.
Yeah. That would be a good place to advertise it.
I do.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you please state your name for the record?
It's Detective Stephen Grubbs, Grubbs.
And what is your current occupation, sir?
I am a detective for the Westerville Police Department.
And how long have you been a detective, sir?
Been a detective almost 5 years.
And did you have prior law enforcement experience before becoming a detective?
I did.
And can you walk us through that a little bit, please?
Is this sped
so I
up?
received my bachelor's of criminal justice from Tiffin
1.25.
University. Later went on to receive my
No.
master's of criminal justice from Michigan State University.
It's not at
I
all.
hired
That's
by
I
the
was
Westerville Police
wondering.
Department in
Yeah.
October of 2000. After becoming certified.
Man,
as a police
how slow
officer,
do these people talk?
I worked essentially patrol and as a training officer for other newer officers from essentially February 2001 until I was injured on duty in 2006. While I was injured and rehabbing and everything else, because of my
True.
light duty status, they essentially, if you remember when the catch a predator stuff and all that was going on, all the online chatting and activity and stuff, while I was on light duty, they had me start chatting with guys online, ultimately trying to find, posing
Jesus,
as a
dude.
underage female and trying to find guys online looking to meet.
Was there a
Do I look
specific
cute?
organization that you worked with?
At that time, no, as just
That's
out of
why-
light duty
that's why
status.
it's up
Ultimately
there.
Came back full duty as a police officer, and then in 2009, I was one of the
C-Swept
initial
made us
members of the
that.
Franklin County Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. And since then, I have
It's
served
actually
dual purpose. I've
the
spent part of my
prosecutor's beard. She took the beard off the prosecutor's face and put it on the monkey.
week working as a uniformed patrol officer, and part of my week with the ICAC task force.
And how long did you do that, sir?
I basically had that joint role from 2009 until I became a full-time detective in late 2017.
I want to turn your attention back to May 26th of 2020. Were you working as a detective that day?
Yes, sir.
What do you remember about how your day began?
Typically, how the day begins is we receive a briefing sheet, kind of a rundown of reports that the department has taken from the previous day. It's broken down by each shift and the type of report. It gives the report number and just usually like a 1 or 2 sentence synopsis as to what the report was about. Like if your, say, Officer Jones had gone out and taken a theft report from a car that had been broken into, it'd say, car broken into overnight, iPad stolen. Just as a thumbnail version as to what the reports were. So my day generally starts out by reviewing the reports taken from the previous day.
And did you see a report relating to a missing 52-year-old woman?
I did.
And what did you do when you saw that?
As that part of that thumbnail provides the report number
I'm
itself,
not sure.
I can then go in the system and actually pull up the report and read all the details that the patrol officer had taken. The exact location, what the narrative was, the dates and times, anything relevant to the report itself. I'm able to read it.
After you read the initial information, what did you do next?
Actually, tracked down my Detective Sergeant Alloway and requested if I could be assigned this missing person report for investigation.
And did then Sergeant Alloway assign that case to you?
Yes, sir, he did.
Can you describe for the jury what it means to be to have an investigation assigned to you?
To have it assigned to you, essentially, that case is your baby. You're responsible for it. You can reach out and ask others for help if you need it. Generally, most cases, you can usually work either by yourself or with 1 or 2 other people. Of course, the good thing about our detective bureau is if we need something, we're there for each other. So if I need 5 other guys to help with things, I can do it. So essentially, at that point, you almost become a quarterback at that point where you can't do everything on your own. You need some of your teammates to help you investigate a case.
And were you the lead investigator then in this investigation here?
Yes, sir.
With respect to my colleague, I want to skip forward a little bit towards the end of this investigation.
Hi, Yamaha.
Did you receive a call on September 16th of 2020?
Yes, sir, I did.
And what was that call that you received?
It was a call from Detective Sergeant Alloway notifying me that a body had been located in the woods.
And did you respond to that location?
I wonder if that board game
Generally speaking, where was it?
site has
It
Monopoly
was
on it.
Essentially northeast of County Line and Crossings in Westerville.
You've been here and seen the map a lot of times.
Yes, sir.
Which site?
What's the nearest
That board game site
along those woods?
where you can play online. I
Oh,
wonder if it
they
has
used to
Monopoly.
have Monopoly
parked my
games
vehicle
online.
actually on
I don't know
County
if they
Line.
still
There
do.
were
That was
numerous
like 20 years
emergency
ago.
vehicles lined up at that point and parked and tracked down the Lieutenant Dickinson, who was one of the on-scene supervisors at that point, and had made my way in from County Line Road and the sidewalk north through into the wooded area.
Did you take photographs of the scene when you responded?
Yes, sir, I did.
And were you aware of anybody else that was going to be dispatched to that location?
Yes, I was notified that Ohio BCI was en route, but they were not on scene at that point.
And what was BCI's role going to be?
They would be the primary ones to take more photographs, gather any evidence, and then ultimately provide that evidence to us.
So ultimately, you were not going to be the one to personally process the scene.
That is correct.
But you did take some photos to show what it looked like when you were there.
Yes.
Here, I'm maybe approach.
Night, Baker. Thanks for stopping in. That was super trendy of you.
Do you recognize those photographs?
Yes, sir, I do.
And generally speaking, what are they?
These are photographs essentially starting out from the sidewalk closest to County Line Road and then entering into the woods as you approach the body in the woodline.
Are those some of the photographs that you took on the evening of September 16th?
Yes, they are.
Are they true and accurate depictions of the scene as you saw it that evening?
Yes, sir.
During this time, I'd ask to publish these. Detective, for the record, I'm not showing you Exhibit 63 up on the projector. Can you tell us what it is that we're looking at here?
This is the sidewalk and crime scene tape as you are facing north, generally into the woods north of County Line Road.
Detective, I'm now showing you State Exhibit 64. Can you tell the jury what it is we're looking at here?
This is, again, continuing facing north as you approach what appears to be a body in the woods north of County Line.
And can you circle that for the jury what it is you're looking at there? And Detective, can you describe where you're standing to take this photograph?
I used to have these
standing
pictures.
Off the body, I'd say approximately 20, 25
I
feet.
might still. I'll have to look.
Elevation-wise compared to where the
I can
sidewalk.
put them in the Discord.
It's actually from the sidewalk as you start to enter the woods. The hill will actually go down decline, and it's not an easy terrain to make it through, but then it will level out. But this area is lower than the County Line Road part itself.
Detective, I'm not showing you what's been marked as State Exhibit 65. Can you tell us what we're looking at here?
This is another photograph from the south facing north of a body in the woods north of County Line.
State Exhibit 66.
Again, this is another photograph of the body as it was found in the woods north of County Line.
In the middle of the body, there's something hanging down there. Can you describe for the jury what that was?
It's a part of a black plastic USB.
Generally speaking, can you describe the positioning of the body?
Generally speaking, it is upright. She is essentially on her knees. You can see her right foot sticking out, and the left foot is later determined to be underneath the body itself.
Detective, I'm not showing you what's marked as State Exhibit 67. Can you tell the jury what we're looking at here?
So this is after the Delaware County coroner's investigator and BCI had been on scene. I didn't want to approach before they were there. And this is a photograph northwest, basically aiming down towards the body itself. This is more of the front of the remains of the body.
Detective, I'm not showing you what's marked as State Exhibit 68. Can you tell the jury what it is we're looking at here?
This is a close-up of the rest of the USB. As I mentioned earlier, the black plastic USB that you could see on the back, this is more the USB that was above the body.
So I want to talk about the ends of the cord.
Yes, sir.
Or cable, I guess, maybe a better word. Showing again State Exhibit 66. Can you circle where one end of the cable was?
Yes, sir.
So right in the middle of the back,
Yes, sir.
hanging down. And then on State Exhibit 68, are you able to see the other end of the cord?
Yes, sir, you can.
And can you tell us where that is? Detective, I want to turn your attention right up. If you go up from the end of the cord, up a little ways.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Detective, again, can you circle where the end of the cord is there? Further, I guess in the bottom middle of the photograph. Going from the end of the cord, tracing upwards a little bit, what is the next piece that you see there?
The next piece, and I can't recall what it's got an official term, but I can't recall it, but it's this piece right here from the end of it.
And can you describe, well, obviously what the name of it is, but can you tell us what that looks like or what that piece is?
It's still a part of the USB itself. It's a
Nice.
thicker part of it.
And is it cable or harder plastic or something else? What's that?
Oh,
It's hard plastic, like the rest of the USB itself.
And Detective, can you describe what that harder piece of plastic is stuck through there?
It's stuck through the end of the other half of the USB that's been folded over. And it's essentially threaded through that loop.
And is what was holding that entire cord together then to maintain that position?
Just that little black circular part was the only thing completing the loop at that point.
Was there any knot that was tied with that end of the cord?
At that point of the cord right there? No, sir.
Right above that, at the top of the photograph that we're looking at, do you see a knot anywhere?
Yes, sir, I do.
And can you circle that for us? Was that the only knot you observed on this cord when you were on scene on September 16th?
That is correct.
Not showing you what's been marked as State Exhibit 69. Can you tell the jury what it is we're looking at here?
On the foreground is a tree branch, but behind that is the rest of the USB cord as it loops over a tree branch. that which is above the body at the scene.
Can you circle that, just so the jury's aware what we're talking about? And that shows the USB cable where it goes over the branch and then back down.
Yes, sir.
And then finally, Exhibit 70. Tell us what we're looking at there.
This is 2 indentations that were on that same
Hey,
branch
Jacob.
itself after the ligature in the body had been removed from the scene.
And when you say ligature, what do you mean?
The USB cord itself.
That branch, can you tell us what type
For
of
sure.
plant or thing that was that the cord was wrapped over?
Well, not being much of a tree guy myself, I actually reached out to the forestry division from Ohio State University, and they had asked me, and this was essentially a couple weeks later, week or two later, to take some more photographs of the tree itself, get some close-ups of
For months too.
if there were any berries on it, what the leaves look like, so that way I could email it to Ohio State, and then they could offer a better opinion as to what sort of plant or tree that it was.
And again, when who responded from BCI to the scene? Do you recall?
I can recall, but I'm drawing a blank right now.
All right. And was that individual from BCI the one that was going to be tasked with taking more photographs and collecting the evidence?
Yes, sir.
I want to go back now to the beginning of your investigation. After the case was assigned to you, what was the first thing that you ended up doing?
First thing I did is I went and pulled up the driver's license information for Matt Moore, Emily Noble, and Celeste Grove, since she was named in the initial report itself from Officer Hollis. Just so I had an idea later on, one, what these people look like, try to get more of a background of these individuals involved in this report.
Did you leave the police department and go somewhere else then?
I did.
And where'd you go?
Detective Peachy and I actually traveled up to Abbey Cross Lane.
And what was the purpose of going to Abbey Cross Lane?
We were going to attempt to knock and talk with Mr. Moore's residence.
Can you describe for the jury what a knock and talk means to you?
Knock and talk is essentially what the name involves. It just involves knocking on someone's door and trying to either provide them with information or ask them questions. It's a non-custodial thing. It's more of just an investigative tool that we use.
And did you go to 46 Abbey Cross?
Yes, sir.
And when you knocked on the door, did somebody answer?
So those present at the scene was Mr. Moore, his cousin, and his father.
Did you have a recording device with you during that time?
Yes, sir, I did.
And can you describe for the jury what that was?
It's just a little handheld audio recording device. It doesn't record any sort of video or anything like that. I like to do it as a backup to if I have a formal interview with someone where I can't have any audio. There are times I'll also have it essentially in my notepad itself, and there's a pocket on the front. And a lot of times I'll just stick it on there, so that way I'm not tying up one of my hands, just trying to hold a recorder the whole time. That way I have it playing.
And did you activate that audio recorder when you made contact at 46 Abbey Cross?
Yes, sir.
And did you save those recordings of your interactions with people that were there?
Yes, sir, I did.
And Detective, if you had an opportunity to review those recordings.
I don't know what a
to an accurate copy
didgeridoo
of
player
your
sounds like.
interactions, at 46 Abbey Cross.
Yes, sir.
So I don't know what you're hearing. Do you hear my rooster talking? I can hear him talking.
This time,
but-
well, I'm going to mark this as States of 71. I'd ask this time to play States of 71, which is the first part of the knock talk interview.
Yeah, I have a chicken walking around outside talking right now.
We shook hands. I'm over all that.
There, is the sound on now?
Oh, yeah, I guess we can do that.
But we sanitize point out today.
I live in.
So no updates whatsoever, haven't heard anything, seen anything like that? Okay, from French.
Yes, they're contacting me Facebook messaging. She's actually never a whole life.
come tell my rooster that he needs to be nice to
At
me.
that point, it's Mathew Moore.
It was a fan. I'm sorry, Mass. I might be.
He asked for one.
I got mine set. Anybody can get over this.
Do you know anybody that she works with there by name or phone number or anything like that?
No, I didn't. Well, he must have moved on, but I turned a fan off.
She did a lot of socializing before she was.
Okay. Would there be a chance you could come down to the station? Absolutely. Chat on a little bit later on. And would it be okay if we take her cell phone?
Sure.
Okay. We just like to see if there's anything there to explain.
I mean, I've been going through it, and you probably will be better at it.
Detective, did you ask to collect Emily's cell phone?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Did you ask to collect Emily's cell phone?
Yes, sir, I did.
And why did you do that?
To gain more information as to what exactly we had at this point. All we know is that she is gone.
And what was the plan for what you would do with Emily's phone once obtained?
The plan with obtaining it is to take it back to Westerville Police Department, where I provide it to Detective Leckie for a forensic extraction.
Did Matt Moore indicate whether or not he had been on Emily's phone at that time?
He said that he had been on her phone.
But if you guys run your programs that can cover text messages and stuff like that, so if she's left voluntarily, she would communicate with somebody, anything like that, we'll be able to try and find out,
She was a roamer. She was, she took off and kind of walk around with a forager, so she.
Is she spider or anything like that?
Not a lot. She's very small. She had everything going. She's not quite wiper off the knee when I want to.
She's
Right
having.
here? Yes. So nothing additional you can tell her.
I mean, enough her wallet, her purse, her phone, her car.
Did she have a work computer?
She did.
You know what that was? Did it have a long tube?
Then I told her, no, you guys know, I don't think that it was a laptop. We're out here today.
She ever leave without a phone or that?
I mean, yeah, she would go for walks. Good one. Yeah, times with him. I always know it's
Hi, Pixie.
Is your laptop?
In response to the question about
Right.
whether Emily would leave with her phone, what was the defense answer?
Yes, at times.
That recording came to an end there. Can you tell us how that happened?
Operator error. Essentially, my foolproof plan of storing my recorder in my notebook at the time, my notebook had actually hit the stop button at that point. So for a couple minutes, I was no longer recording. So I looked down at the device itself.
And did you
Like-
reactivate that?
Likely story.
And did that make a separate file then? What I'm going to mark here is stays at 72.
Yes, it did.
Is it fair to say that some of the communications were from the other two people that were at the condo?
That is correct.
I'm going to ask to place exhibit 72 and for the record starting 3 minutes and 30 seconds into the recording.
Any objection?
Yeah, how convenient is that? I wonder what was said when it was accidentally off.
And then you just, I don't know if I made phone calls or if she did.
What day is this when you are at the condo originally?
This is Tuesday morning, May 26th.
So the day after law enforcement's initial response with Officer Hollis?
Yes, sir.
I like it, Joe.
Just a routine. I got off on this bed, and I wouldn't know when she was around. She sleeps out here sometimes. She was on the floor. Nothing was unusual.
On the floor?
She sleeps like she lets me outside. She opens all the windows. She's a square. She is the kindest person, but she has no means. She likes to be outside. So she'll sleep out here all the windows open.
True,
She's
but-
very yes, but it's not what it is. She eats for it. She feeds me. They're microwave. So all this is over out here. She goes fine.
Because most nights you got to do that? You shut the camera on. She was there.
We spent some time there together. At some point, we fell asleep, and I woke up. And I'm not completely positive, but when I get up, I pass and I look at the time. So in my head, how much time I got to go for it. it was early, it was like 12:31 probably, and that's the only time I need to take a Andy, some stuff like that. I didn't get to, I was just looking at my phone and text 3 or 4 friends, maybe 3 friends, just stuff. I fell asleep late. I don't know what time it was later in the morning. I slept in, so it reached 11, which is I normally use it.
What were you sleeping in?
Yes, I don't wait until she sleeps, I wake her up. So what I do is I go in my this room here, there's a couch in there, and I just I'm just trying to sleep. And I thought things, basically fell asleep, and I woke up at 11 p.m. We were invited to a party.
Right?
And I texted her at 11:50. I said, hey, we're still going to that party. And she didn't reply. So then I looked at my phone to see if she was still here. And when she left, she just didn't want to phone. But the phone was still here, so I'm like, oh, she's here. I was waking up, kind of rolling around a little more. Eventually I got up and I got her, and she wasn't here. And I saw her phone. And I was like, she went for a walk. 3 hours, 2 hours, around 4 hours go by. Texted her again, hey, there's no life. I texted again. Because I still didn't see the phone from me. So I had to think about it. And eventually got to the point where I called her best friend, Celeste. And I told her the story. Like, the wallet's here, the phone's here, the car. She got all this.
The question I had for you,
He told us some stuff the other day when he was here.
she doesn't have any history of kind of mental illness, depression, anything like that.
She's just like any other girl. She doesn't need it. But she's not around. She doesn't need these other things like this.
She never had, she never went to a doctor, she's diagnosed with it.
She's on.
Detective, was Mr. Moore asked whether his wife had a history of any kind of depression or other mental illness?
That's correct.
And what was his response to that?
I believe it was, she's just like any other girl.
Inside, it's your sweet self. Let me play back for please here. Alright. No, we're looking for it now. I'll take it. Alright. Now, she wasn't a user of drugs. She had those pills would be like, every once in a while, she'd take one, she'd be like, I have one, just to get out of her sleep. She's moody, but she's not any more moody than any other girl. She wouldn't do this to make you mad. This is just not her.
She never disappeared for
not on her. Absolutely. She has her phone. She'll tell you where she's always on time. She's very thirsty. She's very worried. She's always, because she's so small, she's always very nervous. She goes out.
Do you mind the whole recording? Is it lucky enough?
The key is on the station.
Look at that computer. If we find the digit, it's not here, that's very topical.
That means that she's in the wood.
And why should they that not?
So this is hers, is it my phone? Do you know what kind of which one? 11, 8, yeah, okay. That's right. Yes, please. 3. Easy enough. And can you unlock and grab the serial number for me?
Well,
Yeah.
none of us really are.
About. Let's jar first. About. And then, can you read off the serial number?
You want the model numbers?
I'll take off two.
So the model number is NQ962LL/A. Serial number is F17 BW 0 W7 JCLY.
Detective, as you were collecting Emily Knowles' phone, did you have Mr. Moore read off the serial number?
Yes.
And showing, this is a 15. I don't expect you to remember the entire thing that just read off to you, but does that serial number appear to be the same thing that Mr. Moore read off?
It does.
And for the record, we're talking about the second row there, that string of letters and numbers that started with the letter F.
Yes, sir.
And what is her phone number?
Right, exactly.
562-81.
Okay, and your phone number?
It's 702-84-1010.
702-884-1010? Is that on purpose, or did you fill it out there? Okay. Cool, you got that number. It's very, very unique. And you guys, are you on the same service plan?
Yes.
Okay, who's that with?
Okay.
Oh,
Both of their birthday gifts arrived, so
It's having
they
fun.
were, yeah.
Computer. Where did you leave the house? The reason I say that is because I made a text to her about 11, like almost 12, and I think I lied to that for a little bit. So I'm thinking that's really weird. It's like, don't leave that. It's like, went so far into the night, getting back to sleep. And did you go for a loud? At 12:30, you picked that up with Captain Andy, and you said you later texted somebody. I figured out that I mean, yeah, like my wolf.
Same, Jimmy.
So that's a couple hours. I haven't been there. The guys around like 2, and then at around 4, I'm still on the phone. And eventually around, I was around maybe 6, I did fall asleep and I slept. And then did you go anywhere?
Later, Descent. Thank you.
And did you go anywhere yesterday, or were you just here waiting for her?
Tech, I want to make sure that we understand the timeline here. Can you walk us through roughly what the defense said was the timeline of events?
Roughly got up to go pee about 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, took half an Ambien, went into the other bedroom, laid back down, was up till approximately 4 a.m. I said that he fell asleep probably around 6 and then slept until about 11 a.m.
Council, before we go, can we take a minute break here? I know we're going to be on for a while.
Absolutely.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take 10. Remember the court's admonition. Thank you.
Interesting.
Sorry.
Detective still under oath.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to resume plain 672.
Okay, what you want? Yes. Okay, there's a travel today. It's very short. And my dad was there. I just want to make sure I will. Which trail? I know that you know what's next up. You go along. Take a right, you take another left, and it winds around outside. Get that bike path. Take a right, it goes over that bridge, that beautiful bridge, that Westerville bridge. That's where we go. We go down there and right along the side of the bridge, there's all these edibles that we collect. That's where she goes. And then
there it is.
It's super wooded there too, and you can't see in it. I did that right now. She is in there, so you would be able to go in there and find out if she's there. And I'm not even thinking that right now.
So the bike path.
It's juror number 8.
County line, on the south side,
North side.
north side county line.
You found it?
Yeah. I was juror number 8 on this case. This book by Mathew Moore gives him a voice.
I think that was the
Truth and-
juror. Sorry, I think that was the juror who did a review with him
I don't
on
know. I didn't.
Lawyer, you know.
Lawyer, you know, or on potentially criminal.
One of them, yeah. But yeah, there was one where I think it was potentially criminal. But yeah, I think that was her number.
Yeah.
So sorry.
I have
go on.
no. Truth and finally justice at an extreme cost, mentally, financially, and it was living hell to prove his innocence. I read this book nonstop to the end and felt like I was back in the courtroom. Buy the book. Be aware how imperfect our judicial system is and can ruin lives. This unjust is real and happens. Be aware of how greed, tunnel vision, and slap-happy cops and investigators, along with prosecutors, get caught up in wanting to win just to close the case. What a waste of county tax dollars, too.
They maybe should have wadered her a bit better. Good for her. It sounds like one of us in like David's circle would be
Right.
on would be a juror, and we'd get picked and be on there.
You go back this way too, and then when you just right at the bridge, don't go on the bridge. You stay on the lawn prior to it and walk on the side. Gotcha. There's a path. There's a woods on your left, and then there's that wall. There's all that's where she walks there, and we get back on the path. Walk down the path, and then take a left into this neighborhood right here. I can take you guys. It's pretty much the walk she'll do her edibles. She was to leave here to take a walk to get edibles, when she does all that. That's where she goes. Does she ever walk off the path looking for edibles? Okay, it's possible that she can walk away. Absolutely, she goes if she sees if she wants to. Before walking down, she shows how to on that. Right. Show that part. And look for the laptop in. And I'm going to go this with you real quick. So, the consent for yourself. Mathew Moore, you hereby vote. You got a Mathew or Matt? Okay.
You hereby voluntarily give consent to Westerville Division of Police or its agents to search following electronic devices, media, and related items. Apple iPhone 8 Plus, black. Model number you read off, that's a serial number. Specifically, I give consent to Westerville Division of Police and other agencies and individuals acting on behalf of the police department to search all contents of the following. Basically, it's just calling for the iPhone itself. So if you're good with that, I'll need an initial there and a signature right at the top.
Yep. A good story and a conviction.
With the defendant,
Yes, I did.
and I'm going to put up on the overhead defense exhibit D.
Large.
Detective, are you familiar with defense exhibit D?
Yes, sir.
And could you mark on the map where you went with the defendant after you left the residence Santa Cruz?
So we'd left the residence and come out to County Line Road. And I drove east on County Line and then performed a U-turn. Don't tell anybody. And then parked right here. I parked off the side of the road, actually on where the sidewalk was. And from there, we got out on foot.
So you, for the record, indicated that you parked somewhere near where County Line Road and the bike path are?
Yes, sir.
How does the bike path and County Line Road interact in that area?
The bike path is actually raised and it goes above County Line, so there's not a issue with traffic and bicycles at the same time. So the bike path itself is well above the roadway.
After you got out of the car on foot, where'd you go next?
So then it was myself, Detective Peachy, and Mathew Moore, and we walked along the south tree line right here, and then he showed us how they would walk along the western side of the tree line, just west of the bike path itself.
Did you enter the woods at any point over on that side?
At that point, no, we essentially stayed right on the tree line itself.
Where'd you go after you checked the tree line along the bike path?
We got back into the car, myself, Detective Peachy, and Mathew Moore, and we got back on the roadway, and then he showed us the other half of the route. So up to Ashbrook and then Maplebrook, and he showed us where they would enter the northern part of the bike path.
Did you exit your vehicle again up on the northern entrance to the bike path?
Yeah.
I don't think so, no.
So after you drove up the northern entrance, what did you do next?
We then returned back to Mr. Moore's residence on Abbey Cross Lane.
Other than the cell phone, did you collect anything else from Abbey Cross at that time?
Mr. Moore identified a pair of socks that belonged to Emily and a white shirt, as well as a hairbrush of hers.
And what was the purpose of collecting those items?
In case we needed to submit them later on for DNA testing purposes.
After your interaction with the defendant, what did you do next?
So after we returned to the residence and advised them that, if anything popped up, if she returned home, anything like that, obviously to notify our department, Detective Peachy and I went up and attempted to knock and talk at Celeste Grove's residence.
And did you make contact with Celeste that time?
No, sir.
What did you do after attempting to speak to Celeste?
We then returned back down to the wooded area. And at this point, Detective Sergeant Alloway had arrived, and the three of us attempted to walk the bike path.
Oh.
Can you show the jury again, marking where you went, the three of you?
I'll have to tell.
We had started on the south side down along County Line Road, and we checked this entire area up to where Maplebrook Drive is, essentially having between the three of us, we had one on the path itself, just in case there was any blood or anything like that, we want to be able to obviously retain it at that point, and then a detective along each side of the bike path, and we all moved north at the same time.
During that time, you were walking along the bike path, did you go into the woods?
Oh, sure.
The primary
Thanks,
area we
camera
were looking
shot.
for was on that knock and talk.
I make you the
He said that
star
she
of the
was
show,
primarily
Cat, and you.
no farther than 15, 20 feet in. So we basically just
Oh, you little
focused our area on that.
turds.
At this point, we're assuming that there's a good chance that there's a medical emergency. She could have been laying in there and no one had seen her. So we're at this point focusing on the area that Mr. Moore said that she would like to forage.
Can you describe generally what the woods are like
And
there?
sweetie, Becky,
It's fairly level and fairly open. You
this
have
is about
obviously a lot of trees, as you can tell by the
Alec
photographs, but
Baldwin
they're
with the
generally
stupidity at
much
the
higher
moment.
than eye level or anything else like that. So it's a lot more wide open at that point.
What?
You're facing criminal charges potentially, and you go out and do an interview.
Yes, sir.
Oh. I was like,
After
what are you
you,
talking about?
The three
Now I
of you
get
searched that
it.
bike path. What did you do next?
We then
For
returned back to
sure.
the Detective Bureau and continue our investigation.
Detective, during that time, on the 26th, were you aware of other investigation going on?
Like another separate investigation?
Other
Most ways you
investigation
don't like.
related to the disappearance of Emily Noble?
So other aspects of this case itself?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Had you enlisted the help of other detectives to help do some of those things?
Yes, sir, I did.
And can you give us an idea generally of the types of things that were being done at that?
We
I
had
love
a
them.
detective looking online for any social media activity, anything that could.
That's a
potentially
cool
be out of the ordinary.
toy.
Had another
Yeah, it
detective
is.
go to the 3 restaurants in Uptown and try to talk with them, see if there was any
Yeah,
video,
well,
anything out of the ordinary.
peace
any
out.
observers, at this point,
Yeah.
anything that we could have to go on.
Did you participate in any of the canine searches that we were testifying about yesterday?
So yes, at approximately 11:30, so this is still on the 26th, myself, Detective Peachy, Detective Sergeant Alloway, and later on we had a uniformed officer, Peachy, husband and wife duo, so I'm going to have to differentiate detective to officer. To have a uniform presence, we did return to Mathew Moore's residence.
And what did you do at that time?
Made contact with him. He did grant permission for the attic and the garage to be checked. And ultimately, Detective Sergeant
They
Alloway
found
had
Farrell.
requested a bloodhound to respond to the scene.
They
Were you present
checked
when
the
that
attic
bloodhound
and
was
found you.
deployed?
I was present when it was deployed, but I did not walk along with it.
I want to turn your attention then to the next day, May 27th.
Yes, sir.
Did you have contact from the defendant that morning?
Yes, sir, I did.
And can you tell us what that was related to?
He had notified me that he had received some threatening messages, essentially claiming that they'd kidnapped Emily and they were holding her for ransom at this point.
When he called you and told you about the threatening message, what was your response?
I don't remember.
Email me the screenshots just so that I
Not-
can speak for it myself, since he had told me over the phone what was happening. I was not present with him at the time.
And did he send you the screenshots?
I can't remember.
Approach the witness. Hey, was marked as State Exhibit 73. Can you take my look that over?
Okay.
Thank you. You recognize that document?
I do.
And generally speaking, what is it?
The screenshot that Mathew Moore was notifying me about.
This time, that's the published Exhibit 73 of the jury.
Any objection? Go ahead.
Detective, I'm showing you State Exhibit 73. Can you tell us, now the jury can see it, tell us what it is we're looking at here?
These are some of the messages that Mathew Moore had received in regards to
Rude.
Emily being sick, and they were holding her for ransom unless they received $7,000.
After this screenshot was sent to you, what did you do?
I asked him if he could come in and provide his cell phone so that we could provide a essentially forensic analysis to see what exactly we were looking at this point.
And what was his response to your request for him to bring his cell phone?
He advised that he was going to take a shower and he'd be in the police station probably about 45 minutes.
Did he come in 45 minutes later?
No, but he did call.
Sal, can you look at
He advised me that it was
private
probably just a
chat for
prank
1
and he
second?
wouldn't be coming in to
Yeah.
provide a cell phone to me
Hey,
because he was
expert.
going to need it that day.
Oh, that's very flattering of you. I'll pause this.
Was there other investigative steps being prepared for May 27th?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us generally what those were?
Oh, Feral Housewife. How are you? Feral does some awesome clips.
There we go. That was the first one I uploaded. I had to play it since he's here. Hi, expert.
Detective Murphy was,
Oh,
working on
I know.
a
I
search
posted
warrant-
it in your Discord, though.
a search warrant for the residence at 46 Abbey Cross, as well as a search warrant for any electronic devices in Mr. Moore's possession.
And what was the purpose of a search warrant for 46 Abbey Cross?
Because at that point, we had nothing else to go on other than the fact that, according to Mathew Moore, the last place that Emily was seen.
I need to
was
add that
the
one
Amy
on there,
house. So
too.
that was the last place we had to go on. So we asked for a search warrant in case there was any sort of evidence in the residence itself.
You mentioned that part of the search warrant was also to collect any cell phones.
That's correct.
What was the purpose of that portion of the search warrant?
To see if there was any forensic evidence on Mathew Moore's cell phone that could provide us with this, furthering this investigation.
Did you proceed to the condo with the search warrant?
Yes, sir.
And what was your role going to be in that?
My role primarily, since I'd had the most contact with Mathew Moore at that point, was to make contact with him, obtain the cell phone, and then ask him to come back to the station voluntarily for an interview.
Did you speak to Mr. Moore at that time?
Yes, sir, I did.
And did he agree to come down to the police department to speak to you?
Yes, he did.
Where at the police department did you speak to Mr. Moore?
We spoke to him in one of the interview rooms.
And are the interview room equipped with a video camera?
Yes, it is.
And does it record both video and audio?
Yes, it does.
I think the whole rest of the day is just watching that video.
Yeah. We'll see how the sound is.
I know if the sound is not good, I know that there's a video on there of just the interview without the courtroom. That's what I've been watching too, expert. It's the birthday present. Hi, White
They
Rabbit.
usually don't like their or that don't like their toys.
Well, they love that one.
Apparently. It's nice when they appreciate their birthday gift.
This.
Yes, sir.
All right.
The trick.
Detective, are you able to see on the screen in front of you, stays at a 74?
No.
No.
That was a test.
I thought it was a trick question, sir.
Now can you see stays at a 74?
Much better, yes, sir.
All right. Before we play that, can you tell us what it is?
Probably not long.
In states at a 74?
So this is from
I'll
one of
post
our
the
cameras
link
in
in
the interview
Discord.
room. That's Mr. Moore sitting in one of the chairs.
And does it indicate a date of when this
Oh,
is
I
being
like your
recorded?
avatar.
It does.
And what is that date, sir?
May 27th, 2020 at 4:47:02 p.m.
And is the States of 74 a true and accurate copy of the video recording of your interview with the defendant on May 27th?
Yes, it is.
All right. At this time, I would now ask to publish the first portion of States of 74 to the jury.
Yeah. Does it come with the replacement parts? So
It's got like extra toys you can switch out, like feathers,
that
and
was what I'm trying to go.
it's only like $12.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm posting it in Discord.
Okay. Sounds good.
Like I told you when we were out there,
Have fun.
you were not under arrest.
Wait.
Scouts on it.
Is that correct?
Babysitting.
And I know it has a lock. This is a voluntary interview.
Aren't you a little old for that?
Obviously, we need to do the best we can to get the full story. You can find your wife and you can get back to normal.
No, he's not.
That involves
White Rabbit is probably interviewing babysitters for him.
Again, this is a
Oh.
voluntary thing. You know, like I told you out there, I have a lot to do. I'm not gonna start now. We could have done it at my house.
Thank you.
That is probably
Thanks.
because it's not voluntary.
You're a good egg.
It's completely voluntary. And I can leave.
I take back the babysitter comment.
I don't want to. I'm just.
Yeah, no, you try to do it right now.
At some point, because we like, I want to help you. I want to get this going because I didn't do it, and I want you to find whatever the hell I have to do.
Me too.
I want it to happen. But just
Yes.
As you began that discussion with Mr. Moore, anything stand out to you about your initial interaction with him?
Yes, he stated he didn't do it.
Oh, that means he did it.
Doing anything in particular at that time?
No, sir. All I was doing was
Oh, this is
going
gonna
over the
piss me
voluntary
off,
interview.
isn't it?
it's a little hard for me to do sometimes.
So don't talk. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Everything you say will be
I'm an open book.
I don't need to
bad
talk
for
to
you.
But you can read English, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I have to ask that because I've had people before that when I go over rights waivers later on, they magically can't read English. So again, I don't mean to insult you. So it says before we ask any questions, you must understand your rights. You understand that part?
Yes.
Trying to remain silent. There's a lot. That's weird.
He's in my Miranda warning.
Yeah.
So I'm being arrested.
You're not being arrested
So why am I being read on Miranda warning?
because it's the standard protocol that I do, just to make sure that we are on the same page with everything. You know, I told you honesty.
Scouts honor. Be honest.
I
Got
told
nothing
you
to worry
not
about, buddy.
anything you say can be used against you in court. You understand that? You have the right to talk to a lawyer before we ask you any questions and have a lawyer with you during question. You understand that?
Yes.
If you cannot afford a lawyer,
Yes,
one will be
ma'am.
appointed for you for any questioning if you wish. You understand that?
Hindsight is
If you
2020.
decide to answer questions now without a lawyer present, there's no right to stop answering at any time. You understand that?
Yes.
You also have the right to stop answering at any time until you talk to a lawyer.
Seems
You
fair.
understand that part?
It seems like a right that's in the Constitution or something, so I'm fully on board with it.
Good. And I, Matthew,
METHEAU, Moore.
I've read the statement of my rights and I understand what my rights are. No promises or threats have been made to me. Is that fair to hear? I gave you that pen, so we both write at the same
No,
time.
hon, I don't think it did.
He did.
Today is.
The 27th.
He did eventually, but
Yeah. I mean, he didn't do anything, so he didn't think that he'd
doesn't need
be.
one.
Yeah.
Detective, I'm gonna hand you what's marked as Exhibit 75. And first, you can tell everyone what that is.
That is a copy of the Miranda rights waiver that I just went over with Mr. Moore with his signature on it.
Is it a true and accurate copy of the document that Mr. Moore signed for your interview on May 27th?
Yes, it is.
That's opposed to the jury?
No objection, Your Honor. Thank you.
Detective, I'm not showing you what's Exhibit 75. Did you read that language at the top of the form directly to Mr. Moore?
Yes, sir.
And whose signature appears under the waiver of rights next to the word sign?
That's Mathew Moore's signature.
Now, for the record, resuming Exhibit 74.
So now, when you called to report Emily on Monday evening, Officer Hollis was the one that came out, correct?
Like I had said,
Yes. Very friendly.
That's great.
Did they treat you well? Absolutely. Okay. Did he have you provide any sort of? I can't talk. It's
Trust me, I'm gonna have a hard time talking.
Well, if you get tongue-tied about it, I'm totally good. Did he have you fill out any sort of written statement as to what had happened?
No.
Okay. What I would like from you, and I've got paper here for you, and I will leave and give you a piece. If you want to stay in here, I can stay in here. It's up to you.
Same here.
Okay. And I'll be completely quiet, but I just need a statement from you, starting from, when you went to bed on Sunday evening until you called the police on Monday at whatever time it was. And I understand that you talked about it and everything else like that. However, it's just a procedural thing that.
For sure, Jamie.
I told you, I promise you, I'm not happy that Officer Hollis didn't get that on Monday.
It's probably fresher in my mind then. I've gone through this in my head with timeline, and some of my times don't line up. I made a phone call and I thought I was sleeping.
Okay.
So I try my best, but I don't want to make.
But you're human, right?
Yeah, I'm human.
And all I want is your best.
It might be. I could specific times I couldn't really be like, this is when I did this.
You're human. You might make a mistake. Just leave an estimate.
The best that you can.
Then the prosecutor, well, you were off by 2 minutes.
Just know that the times are going to be might be wrong, and I would hate to give you a wrong time and then be like suspect.
That's it.
I just don't want to blame.
I don't know when I did everything I did yesterday.
If you say
Like,
this happened at 4:51, I'm like, oh no, that's bullshit. It was 4:55.
No,
You
it
lied.
would be an hour. I mean, it was night. It was just like any other night. It wasn't.
Right.
So I'm not like checking my time.
Right, and you're here.
It was a normal night. We drank. We came home. We hung out. I left because I got the night to go pee. I don't go back in the bedroom because I don't want to wake her up.
and then if you are somebody that does know like when you did things, then people think that you've done stuff and you're keeping an alibi. Like,
during that period, and it's on the phone.
Just the best in your own words.
Yeah.
I can't tell you, hey, I made texts at 5, at 3, you know what I mean? I can't. I won't write down times, but I'll just kind of do a brief like story without times.
right?
But just any instance that you can recall. Like I'm not so time focused right now. It's just the fact that I want to be able to make sure I have everything sequentially.
I feel comfortable.
From how I understand it, I want to make sure that I can pick up. Oh yeah, that's right. That he woke up and then moved the refrigerator on the roof. Whatever it may be. I want to make sure that sequentially I understand.
Can you help me write it? Because I can't spell for pretty horrible. Or like just kind of help me.
But if you need help with the word, I can help spell it. Absolutely. And I'm not here to judge Dali.
My whole day.
Just from when you went to bed, that Sunday night.
So you don't want to know what we were prior to.
No, that's always you stuff we can follow up on.
Because I'm not really sure when we got home. I'm trying to figure out.
So, just name, address, date of birth, and then you don't have to worry about anything on the side. Your handwriting actually much more pleasant than some other ones that I've seen.
Do you want to do Westerville?
I like it. And I really want you to just take your time. Make sure that we're all
Yeah, I mean,
on the same page.
We got home from being in.
I thought that said and. I thought she was calling expert a lovely lady.
We talked. It was her birthday. We talked. We went to bed.
Right.
Together. Do I say we had sex?
Like, unless it happened around a stream. I couldn't tell you the time of but just about anything anymore.
Yeah.
Oh yes, this happened when I was watching David's stream, so it must have been around this time.
I fell asleep. I'm not sure if she did. She might stay up. I'm not sure, but I passed out. Woke up. Went up to pee or urinate. I did look at the clock. I don't want to say that I knew what time it was, but whenever I wake up to go to the bathroom, I look at the clock to see how close it is to the morning. And that determines whether I take a sleeping pill or not, which is, I don't know the name of it. I think I have one, and it was earlier. So I'm going to say, I don't want to tell safe, I mean like 1 maybe, which is early. And I woke up, urinate, went to my son's room to sleep on couch.
That's probably how you would be able to find out what you were wearing, Jamie. Hold on, I gotta go check my streams. I'll be right back.
Sure. Did just
TROUGH phone made a few text messages, MESSAGES. Made a few text messages. I might have posted on Facebook. I don't know. I'm going to say I did. I didn't look. Might have posted on Facebook. I texted my stepfather. I didn't text it back. I think it was 3. He got back to me at 8. From what I saw today, I actually texted back to him at 8. So I might have been later than I thought. But at some point, late morning, be like late morning, late night, early morning, or like 8, 7, 6, 7, whatever. That's late night, late early morning. At some point,
Was it sun up?
I couldn't tell you. At some point, I'm going to say it was starting to be gone because there's a reason for that. Because usually I do fall back asleep before it gets light out, and then I usually wake up at like 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock. You know what I mean? I didn't wake up till like past 11, I think, which is really late. I could have woke up 2 times in between that, and at some point fell back to sleep. Because I think I did at some point at mid-morning make a text to somebody. I'm not sure. I don't know if I should put that down.
Sure.
I might have made a mid-morning text. I remember awaking. The text says the time was like almost 12. I could have woke up at 11, just lightened it a little bit. Waking towards out TWORD.
TOWARDS.
Because nobody wants to admit that.
Towards noon. I text Emily to see if we were going to a Memorial Day. I saw that.
ORIAL.
MAO.
MEM.
MEM.
ORIAL.
Day picnic. I don't know the guy's name. I written down. I'm sure you guys already know. Picnic. She didn't respond. I'm not 100% sure, but I checked my Find It phone app, and it said that she was there.
How long after you sent the text when you get a ballpark? More than an hour?
No, it was probably within like
5-10 minutes.
I'm gonna guess.
Which is normal.
I know that I looked just to see.
But normally you don't
because, you know, it was later. Maybe she could have left.
Yeah.
end up in court with your other family member accusing them of it.
Some point I checked my Find It phone, he was still there. I don't know how much longer I lied in bed, but I know I made another text to her at around 3. I said, well, I guess we're not going. And I'd already been up in the house, so I didn't know her phone was on. I hadn't seen her phone by then, I don't think. Or I would have texted. Would have been there. I heard that. She didn't respond. I retexted. I got up, looked through the house. I checked for her car, which was there.
Yes, the neighbor said that he knew that he had done something because he was smoking in the house, and he would never do that because Emily would never allow it. What they failed to talk about was that it was actually weeks later, or date. I don't remember what he said. Matt said it was quite a while after.
Yeah.
Flipping through the phone. I don't know if I need any text messages or not. I'll have to look. Some point in the afternoon, I noticed her phone, I noticed her wallet. Okay. Where was that? Her phone was next to her bed. Her wallet was, her car. I couldn't afford. All of a sudden, just at some point in the afternoon, I realized that there was something wrong. I think everything's probably
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I realized REALIZE.
Do you want to go play with house kitties?
I called her friend Celeste. It would be a C. Celeste, we talked. She said, call Celeste. You guys show up. Got home from being in uptown, we talked, we went to bed together, made love, fell asleep, woke up to urinate, went to my son's room to sleep on the couch.
His name's Salbert.
Spent time looking at the phone, made a few text messages, might have passed me. Facebook at some point. At some point, I fell back to sleep and then made a mid-morning text. I remember waking towards noon, text I to see if we were going to the Memorial Day picnic. She didn't respond. I got up, looked through the house, I checked for her car, which was there. Went back to my son's
That's
room.
what I said. I don't care when he started smoking in there. That doesn't say guilty to me. That says stressed out to me.
To the house, I checked for her car, which was there. I went back to my son's room, lighting on the couch, looking through the phone. At some point in the afternoon, I realized there was something wrong. I called it. Her friend Celeste. She said, call the police. When I saw her phone, at some point, when I saw her phone, it was probably the last thing I really was like, you know, right? So, the phone is pretty much.
I don't know the name of the cat.
I mean, can I read over it? Sure. You got your handwriting.
I'm sure my children do.
I didn't do anything in school. No, your handwriting's off. You know what stinks is when you make really bad spelling mistakes.
Detective, I'm going to approach me with Mark 6 at 76. So they want to put that over. And do you recognize the document, sir?
I do.
And generally speaking, can you tell the jury what it is?
It's a copy of the witness statement that Mr. Moore just completed.
Well, they're
Statement
barn
Mr. Moore filled out,
cats, so
on May 27th.
Yes, it is.
I don't know all of their names. It just came in with me when I came back in, so.
Detective, starting in the top left corner there, can you tell us whose handwriting that is and the location, date, time, and incident number?
I'm sure the children have every one of them
And just to
named.
the right of that, can you tell us whose handwriting is a name, address, phone, date of birth, and occupation?
That is Mathew Moore's handwriting.
And what did Mr. Moore list as his occupation?
He's an unemployed casino dealer.
We used to have one named
Part of
Meow
that is that,
when my oldest was a toddler.
Continue to be Mr. Moore's handwriting?
Yes, it does.
And is that the statement that he wrote out as we just watched the video of him talking it through with you?
Yes, it is.
What is the purpose of the line that comes after text ends?
Just to show that that was the end of his statement. Nothing else was added on later on after the fact. That was the true ending of what he had written.
And then finally, all the way down here at the bottom of 76, what are we looking at there?
That is Mathew Moore's signature.
Mm-hmm.
Now resuming.
They would love that. They love snuggles.
So yeah, we're not stuck. I could introduce you to some of my coworkers and your head was big enough to talk. So you don't remember what time you came back from Uptown?
So we came directly from, I think our last bar was the, not the Hook Center, it was that other old school, Dagenham. And I think I had the receipt. It was only for like 20, we got fish fried and we probably drank something. We were there for that long. We could check with them. I think they probably will know.
So then roll back.
We walked across the street, we were across the street behind Cold Bakes and we great.
And was the sun still out when you got home?
I'm guessing that probably was, but I don't know.
Were you intoxicated when you
Yeah,
drove back?
I mean,
I appreciate it. We've all done it. So
we
they
weren't stumbling around, but we were.
We have turkeys and rabbits and the chickens.
8, 9. We went to my father's. We gardened. You'd have to check with him, but I think we left there around 4 or 5. We got there at noon. We usually garden for about 4 hours. It was hot. He had friends over. We went home. We washed up and we went right. We didn't get jobs. We just kind of washed up. Super good. We went for something. We were there early. So,
We used to have ducks, but not anymore because they're gross.
No later than good.
So you think at 8, 9-ish?
Yeah, probably 8, 9, 10.
So you get home and you hang out, you drink more, huh? You guys were.
She has beers in the fridge, and I don't reason there's beer in my house. I don't cook that solid was in there. I don't drink beers. I do. But I wouldn't get home at o'clock. So I sit back on the house, and I didn't have any. Usually when I get home after drinking, I don't. She'll continue drinking. So.
Did she eat
True.
But you did not. Okay. And you guys hung out and talked?
We hung out in the kitchen, and we got really along really super well. It was her birthday. We started making out, and we went to the bedroom. And we had sex.
And that's it. So
Mine are super nice. They're like
just make sure
having dogs around.
And then there was the what you call your man cave.
That would be my son.
That Joey's room. Okay. Just to make sure that separate myself.
They're so messy and they
I went
stink.
to the master bedroom with my wife, and that's where she like. Sometimes she sits on the porch on the ground. She likes to be outside. I don't know if she went in there like at some point. As far as I know, I fell asleep. I woke up because I had to pee. She was there. I mean, I would know if she wasn't. I would just not even know if she was there. I didn't have anything with her. She wasn't there. I
Yes,
remember looking at the clock.
they are.
Because I like the time, when I have how much time I have left to sleep. So whether I take a pill, fall asleep or not, I don't know. I might have been drunk. I'm not sure. And I went in to Joe's room. But in my house, it's something that happens every night. I don't think there's a night that goes by that I sleep all the way through. And make sure that I always have to get up and I do remember it. Usually it's pretty much I fall asleep an hour. This one I was lying in bed for quite a bit, and I made a couple texts and I had it on my phone.
Well, they're not supposed to be together anyway, so that was smart.
I don't know how it works, but it was an 8 o'clock phone call. I could have fell asleep and woke up at 8 and then fell back asleep. Next thing you know, I slept into the day, which is very unusual. At like 11, the first thing I did was text her and be like, we still going to the party.
I will continue to use the rabbits for that.
You got to go pee, and the routine after you pee, then you don't climb back in bed with her. And the routine that you look at the clock to see if you should take a sleeping pill or not.
How much time I had left before, it's like related to the night. I won't take one. So
Poor Bruce.
But I don't know. It was early, but I don't know if I took one.
Do you know what type of medicine?
It's like a ambien, but it's some other derivative. I take half.
Okay. All right.
And they definitely.
But you don't remember that?
Ours are friends,
I
not
probably
food.
not, because I was up making phone calls or not phone calls, texting.
Who's up at that time?
You'd have to check. I have a friend in Vegas, so he would be, and he's up there. So it's 3 to 12 out there. I'm not sure you'll have to check.
You don't remember who you texted?
I remember texting my stepfather, and that was the one that was at 8. He's 8 our time, easy stuff. So
8 a.m. you texted?
After midnight. That's right.
So was it after midnight or was it like 8 a.m. that you texted?
8, no, it was that night. That early morning, 8 o'clock a.m.
Our time?
Yes, he's looking at me.
Okay, but what about like at 1 or 2 or whatever time it was?
I made a post at like 3 in the morning, and I think it was my brother Paul. And,
like Facebook post?
On Messenger. You'll have to check. I don't want to lie. I don't want to say but I think it was something funny about the MMA fighter guy that got around the university that's having some sort of stuff that's off the shore. He's not. He's doing just distancing.
So was this a social media post or like a text message?
It was I Messenger is like Messenger that like you can send just sort of.
So that you sent it iPhone to iPhone. Yeah. And this was at like 3 a.m.
I think it was at 3.
This was stepmother?
Half brother. Paul lives in Florida. And I'm fairly. I've been kind of doing my thing, trying to figure out the timeline and stuff. And I'm pretty sure. And I think there's one more in there too that I sent out that I don't know if anybody responded to. But I sent out. I'm not sure. You have to.
And you haven't gone back to look to see?
I did. I'm nervous right now. I'm not really sure. I don't think they responded to it, so I'm not sure. I have 5 friends that we kind of like just goof around and text each other.
So did you text the one friend or 5 friends?
I didn't text 5 friends. I remember texting, I believe it was my brother about the white issue, and I remember texting my stepfather about the water bottles he collects. He collects spring water, he drinks spring water, and we just started doing that.
Pixie.
Got spring water, and I was talking about how the shelf life of water.
You texted him that
Send them all to me.
Monday early, yes. No, it wasn't 3. It was I said it was more like anytime when you see the times. He might
Me
respond.
too. Me
And
too,
I text
Eric.
him at 3. You know, I would have some. But there was definitely correspondence going on while I'm trying to fall asleep at night.
Any social media posts?
You'd have to check. I don't think so. But at some point in the morning, I fell back asleep. I did go back to sleep, and I didn't wake up until late into the morning. And the first thing I did was, we've been invited to the party. I said, hey, we should go to the party, and she didn't respond.
Where was that party?
I don't know. She just barely knows him down there. I talked to him actually. I gave him. They were like, who's this guy? And I found out who it was. They called him. I texted him. And I asked him if maybe she went over there.
You texted him on your phone?
I'm not sure. No, it was hers because it was through her. It was her. I wouldn't have it. I don't know. And I asked him, hey, family over there. Maybe she went over there without me. Maybe I slept too late. She said, yeah, whatever. Not gonna be enough. I'm just gonna go without me. And he said, hey, her.
So what time was that?
11, 12, 11, maybe close to 12. I don't know. Maybe a couple hours after that, or I'm not saying. I don't know.
So then.
If I name it, there's no way I'm eating it.
Was it closer to 12? If I remember correctly. And I got up and I walked around and she wasn't there. And I'm like, okay, she's out doing her thing. And I went back to my couch. She was kind of there. Found her the night before. And the next thing I did was text her again at, I think 3. It was like 3 hours later. And I'm like, I guess we're not going to the party. Where are you? I didn't ask her that, but I guess we're not going to the party. So I think I texted, got up again. And then I looked, there's her car. There's her purse. There's her phone. Things started. This isn't right.
Where was her phone?
On her end table.
Is that only where?
Yes. Well, no. I mean, yes. Is she flying her? That's where it is.
Does she generally sleep in bed?
Like I said, sometimes she sleeps on
Listen.
She's just been recently doing
Well, what I'm saying is when she sleeps in bed, is her phone on the table next to the bed?
Yeah. I mean,
when she sleeps on the floor, where does she put it?
Yeah, she could almost.
Does she? Does she?
Oh, not you. This cat. I'll be right back. It's going back outside where it belongs.
And the only time she doesn't, and I said this in the first guy, she goes out these forest things, and she does this route, and he was like, does she ever go out at night, by herself? And I'm like, no, she doesn't. That's something, but she does. At times, now that I think of it, especially if she's got a buzz and she's drinking, she'll get that, she'll grab a flashlight, and she'll show bonus, and she comes back with the torch, and she shows them.
So between 11 and 3, what were you doing? Were you just laying there on the couch?
11 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon, it was lying in my son. Kind of just chilling, recovering, waiting for her.
Did you ever go to the bathroom at any point?
Yeah, there was periods where I definitely got up.
You didn't know she's gone?
Yeah, absolutely. The first time when I texted her and said, are we going to this party? And she didn't get back to me, I checked the Find My phone, and the phone said that she was there.
Whatever.
Okay, at some point that happened.
I'd rather bring the chicken in here.
She's going to come and get me more ready to go, or whatever. At some point, it didn't happen. She didn't come in and get me. I got up, went out there, between 11 and 3 at some point. It still wasn't a big concern. I wasn't freaked out. I kind of went around a little bit. And the first thing I did was look to see her car was there, because she does call. That would have made sense to go and she left. Her car was there. So, okay, she's doing something. She's just out about. I texted her again at 3. I'm pretty sure that's the time you guys can check that.
In between those 2 times, you texted the gentleman in.
No, I didn't get concerned until the second time I texted her and said, hey, I guess we're not going out.
You texted him
That was
after
3, 3:40, then 3:50. Then after that text, that's when I got mad. So I didn't even know her phone was still there until, because I texted it. So her sister made a group text that I didn't notice. And her sister says it was at 3:45. Mm-hmm. She says she responded to it.
At 3:45 p.m. on Monday?
Yes. Let me think. I'm getting screwed up. I'm getting this screwed up. Maybe it was. No, it was 8:45 in the morning. That's what it was. 8, so while I'm sleeping.
So her sister, what's her sister?
Her sister named Amy.
She said group text at 8:45.
To her and I, and from that you can tell whether someone views it. And she said that we both viewed it at some point. I don't know when I did. She said that I don't know if you can tell when they viewed, but it was viewed, and I wasn't viewed with the phone. So to me, she was there at 8:45 or 8 in the morning. She generally was there. That's my. And the guy across the street. John said that he saw her at 10 or 10:30, whatever.
That's incorrect. John says back there.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of what he, and he originally said like 8 to 9, and then he's now,
That's-
said, I can't, he said, I
He
can't.
swear to it. And
Maybe
then-
he's not good to Sunday.
So that makes it look bad for me.
Well, it just makes it great. I mean, not to just, we're not gonna put.
You guys want to look at anything in my body, you want to.
Yes, you are.
I'm here.
Well, let's just talk.
I hope you guys know I love my wife, and I would never.
Oh, that's kind of where I was gonna go next, is, so, because we've kind of beat this timeline down pretty good. So, you guys got married 2 years ago?
We got married August 28. August 28, 2018. He's the one who right?
8/28/22. Okay.
And I had a son.
So Amy wasn't right on either date that she said. She said the 8th or the 18th.
Okay, we know that, we need to.
Yeah, they make decent stew, but they're too tough for just roasting.
Oh, schizophrenia is the worst thing that got me. I don't know what to know. We want to know.
So, what years did you live out in Vegas?
I did 25 years out there. Maybe 2 or 4. And I left to come out here to get my son. He got in trouble in school. And not trouble, just couldn't learn very well out there. And didn't have special education out there. My dad said, come on out here and live with me and we'll enroll him in Worthington. They have a special course for kids and they're doing well. So I moved out here, and that's when I was out here. I don't know what year that was. I'm guessing that was just 2 years ago. He was a freshman in high school, so he would graduate this year, so it was 4 years ago.
It's real tough.
Emily and I met via the internet and we started dating, and it lasted like a year. My son didn't make it in school he was going to, and I ended up having to move out of the house in my dad's house with my dad. And I ended up in a place I could afford because I was working at a casino here in town, which is a real crappy casino. Thanks, only afford it. Yeah, I was making really good out there, and so I moved to the continent. And I just wasn't making enough money. So and Emily and I weren't like living together type relationship. So I took off. I said I got to go to Vegas and try to get a job. I went back there. My son got sick, and I'd still been in contact with Emily. Emily, Joe was sick, like 6
Man, they really got that thing going.
I took my job and when I moved back to Vegas, they didn't give me insurance. It was a long process because they don't care. So I didn't have any insurance to take care of my kid that had caught schizophrenia. We didn't know schizophrenia, but he was sick. And she said, "Come on back here and marry me. Come on back here and marry me. We'll get him in Westerville." So I moved back. Probably in July, we got married in August, we pulled in school. And that's how things went, and things were really super great.
And things were great with you and your family? Okay.
Just in my life.
Now, we all have some people other wives. You and I have both been married once before, of course, okay? We all know how marriages are, so there's ups and downs. What were the downs?
I lost my sex drive after my kid died. So there was an issue with that. There was never any, she really was really great with the house. She was really meticulous, and I liked it. She reminded me of my mother when she was taking care of home. So she would tell me to wash this and do that, and I really liked it. We would bicker about.
Stop recording at 42 minutes, 58 seconds. Yeah, I see it's now noon. This witness is going to continue for many hours. I think probably a good place to break for lunch if that works for everyone.
If that works for you, that's fine. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take our midday break at this point. Let's come back at 1 p.m. Remember the court's admonition. Have a good break. Thank you.
Okay. This is all of the part 1 of the day.
Oh, okay.
You want to keep going or?
Whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I can go for a little bit.
Okay.
Do you have the link for part 2?
I can get it.
Ooh.
You're so strange, Sal.
What? Who, me?
Yes, you.
I got it.
Okay.
I've done nothing wrong. I'm a good boy.
Keep telling yourself that.
Since 6 months, it was an 8. Absolutely. Did you realize that?
Well, we don't know for everything. There's a
There might be some old text from earlier, whatever, but it was after my son died, there was tension stress. She got it differently than I did. And so there's
Right.
But this whole Corona thing, really, we became really super like, and we kind of, we meet each other, this thing. Guys, I've not heard of it.
Oh, sure. Now the cord turns up the volume when I do it.
I don't know.
That's what they did to
was
me the
speculating.
other day.
God damn it.
After the defense was talking about Corona, what did he say about Emily?
He told us that he loved his wife. And said it in the past.
Oh,
tense.
well, that's something a guy who did it would
Oh.
say.
Love.
They would.
To say that she might have hurt herself.
Oh, the past tense thing. Crying out loud.
I have no idea what tense I would use in that situation.
I'm not afraid to die.
Right.
I mean, don't they all kind of be like that? You know, sort of nothing that
I'd probably alter back and
forth.
forth.
Why would you think she would hurt herself? I mean, possibility.
Because she was not that she ever would. I'm just saying she was emotional. She would get emotional. She was a very emotional person, and she would say things like, and then when Joseph died, it was like this thing where she would be like, well, if I would do it if I needed to do it, you know, or she would be like, well, you know.
So, I mean, like I said, we're not.
If the interview continue after that?
I thought that was you.
And,
No.
Let's publish Western March's Exhibit 74C to the jury.
Would it surprise you if I said that she didn't seem to be as happy as you were led to believe? Would it surprise you?
It wouldn't surprise me. She was sadder than I thought she was.
As far as your relationship?
No, she loved me. I would be very surprised if there was like a.
Was the defendant just there talking about Emily's feelings towards him?
Yes, he was.
And what did he say?
He said, no, she loved me. Again, past tense.
Loved, not love.
Correct.
No, well, I'm not saying that, but literally 2 weeks ago, there was one person that she kind of confided in.
When was this?
Said something.
And she said that
Before she was found, I guess.
2 weeks ago. And then they kind of want to talk about it a little bit. Early May, we're there talking this month.
Was this May or was this September?
Kind of relationship I want.
This was before she was found. I think May.
Or does he not know that she's been
We don't
found?
talk about Matt and I.
Maybe.
Does it? I can't.
She said, same day. He has been the same since George.
I'm gonna go look and see if I can see the date on.
And at the same time, she said, I think Matt is mentally ill.
Wait, no, I got it. 2020,
Same day.
0523, I believe.
Relationship, we're not talking 2 months ago, so we're not talking.
It says in the video.
And she said, I don't want to talk about him. I'd rather focus on the future. By the way, Matt got really drunk last night. This was February. By the way, Matt got really drunk last night. Said some things I don't think he can take back.
They do that
I'm fine,
often,
I'm pretty sure
Jamie.
we're not going to stay together.
Mark Jensen would constantly go in for quick interviews with the police. But then when they finally did the one where they sat him down, he brought his kid in with him. So he's
Right.
worried about his kid, and his kid's being entertained by a female cop. But he keeps wanting to go and check on his kid because he was there for hours.
Right.
And so it's very common to do short interviews to lock in your story and then finally go after him. Yeah, this was May 2020. It looks like 22, May 22nd.
Well,
there.
she went missing after that, so.
Did she?
Yeah. The 24th, I believe, is the day that.
Okay,
It
then
was
maybe that's 26th. It's hard to make that out there, but unless it's really faint. Maybe that's 6/22. It was around then.
I didn't think that was that.
What was it that she said? She was mad.
Thank you, Jamie.
And she focused on one thing, Matt picked a fight against April. This is barely a month.
She would accuse me of picking fights.
Okay.
This was from the 27th.
Matt picked a fight with me yesterday and said some awful things. I'm not wearing my wedding ring.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can kind of.
That doesn't sound like somebody who's in a happy relationship.
So I don't think that it's weird that you would say loved and things if somebody that is gone for that many days.
Yeah, you're probably thinking something bad happened.
I'm just addressing the fact that you just told me the last 6 months have been less than an 8.
Yes. There have been levels of that. And you can check the other texts and they are super. I love you. There are.
It's very much up and down. I fully agree.
That would go away. That would really go away. Last for a night.
Would you acknowledge that that's some pretty heavy shit when your wife said, I'm talking about wedding ring? I don't think we're going to stay together. You don't think that?
You might think it is, but it's not. She would be like that at times because of her.
Yeah, it was the
back who were always just wasn't
24th, 25th.
I didn't even remember that because it's not in my mind.
The 24th was the last time,
You know,
whatever. But the 25th was that Monday.
I understand. Just let me, I'm not saying anything, I'm saying, when you come in and say, we had a great relationship to Officer Hollis, we had a great marriage, no problems whatsoever, and then I read this going back 6 months, and you text her on New Year's Eve and say, if you want to divorce, we're going to move out, fine. I mean, these are all things I just printed off, which have they aren't the usual fight.
I agree.
You fuck off, I don't want to talk to you tonight, just leave me over. It's go bolting, because I don't want to see you right now, I want to be alone. That's, we don't give it, that's pretty,
it's not as heavy as you think it is. If I'm looking at it from the outside, I can see why someone would think that, but it's not. It's just the level of anger from. I'm not gonna say it's her fault. I had my issues with my son. I would get angry too. We would fall back in love the next day. It was just.
I suppose I could just look in his book that I literally have right in my hand.
The last 6 months have been really nice. I mean, was there a time we had a night where I said some bad things and she kept avoiding me off at home? It happened, but I mean, I'm not gonna. I don't know how to explain to you.
Do you remember that happening?
I remember her. I think taking her wedding ring off, but it didn't last. But this thing's gone on forever.
When was the last argument you ever got into a screaming match?
There was never really a screaming match. It was more of just.
When was the last argument / loud
I
conversation?
couldn't tell you.
Because your neighbors are either saying it was the last 2 weeks. Would that be correct?
I don't know. And there's screaming. We're screaming at each other. I think we're saying we were screaming at each other so they could hear. We weren't. There might have been a loud whatever. We weren't violent. We weren't screaming like at each other. Oh, like throwing things around. It just wasn't happening. It's not the type of relationship we had. We would get mad at each other because we had issues. They weren't even close to being like. She was saying that to her friend. I mean, that's surprising to me because I wasn't like, I mean, at times you say, hey, I want to be married to me. If it doesn't go down the lines that I'm sitting in a police station arena, being like you're going at me. Trust me, as a man, that what was going on there was nothing there was nothing to be worried about. There wasn't anything.
So, can I change course now? So, it was Officer Hollis, if you want to take this to radio, Officer Hollis came out on Monday to take a report, right? Now, and, her phone wasn't seized or anything else like that.
Hi, David.
Were you posting stuff on Facebook from her account using her phone?
How you doing?
I don't know, maybe.
Right.
I knew her passcode. It was my son's old phone. I could have went on there and posted something.
Get your
I didn't have any of her friends' phone numbers.
deck partner on there?
I'm guessing that I was making some sort of contacts with friends of hers using when I was looking for her.
Like after she was reported missing.
You gonna have the neighbors try out your deck?
Did you post something to her Facebook account, to her friend on Facebook, like, hey, she's missing?
I didn't until later on.
Bet you can get 2 or 3 neighbors on your deck.
Was as serious as it was. It wasn't like it was after the
I just need to know if you did, and there's nothing wrong with it.
I don't know. I don't know.
Matt, this was 2 days ago. You can't remember if you
Which
were
phone
on
now
her
you
phone. Did you go on her? Did you think to yourself, and this will make perfect sense?
Oh, shut up.
Say, look, I don't know her friends, which we know. So I'm going to go on, you made the comment. I would like to
This
post
is
to
a
her account.
wholesome chat.
So it's been through your mind. It would make perfect sense. I'm going to go on her Facebook account and post, hey, has anyone seen Emily? This is her husband. I can't find her.
I can't recall that I must have.
You remember that?
Why is the cop getting all?
I don't know if it was me. I must have.
Was someone else using her phone?
When is it Hunt the Killer?
Yeah, when is
On the
that?
library?
You didn't hand it out to a dozen or walking down the street, some Joe Stranger or anything else like that? Okay. So if anything was posted on her account, have you ever accessed her Facebook from your phone?
I can't. So I've never done it. I can't access. I try to post stuff on her page from my phone, but it doesn't like.
Like you can't get in as her on her Facebook.
I can do it from her phone. I can do it. Yeah, just get on her phone, go to Facebook. I'm sure I did. I can't say I definitively did, but I'm sure I got it. I'm like, okay, I did, didn't I? I did. You guys know. I went on to say this is Emily's husband. She's missing. I must have. I had. I just don't recall right now if I did. And I'm pretty. I think that would be the move to make. And
just because we asked you a question, it doesn't mean that we're going at it. It's
not
not a fair question.
I know, you're right. And I'm just trying to tell you that
If
I don't like in my head picture it, I don't want to say I did. But I mean, it would be the move to make. I mean, yeah, I must have. I've been using my phone, her phone for the last, this is Wednesday now? I don't even know what day it is anymore. I've been using 2 phones, so it's looking at her friends.
But you know you can't post from yours, so if you post into her Facebook account, it has to be to her phone.
It has to be to her phone.
Did you use her phone for any of
I posted a link if you want to join
Like
David's Hunt a Killer thing tonight at 7.
Sure I did.
You gotta be a member and join the Discord.
So yeah, that's why when I gave the phone to you guys, I was like, I need that phone back to contact people.
Do you think you make, I don't know if you don't remember, did you make a couple posts on a Facebook account? Did you make 1, 5?
I don't know.
Do you remember what you wrote?
At some point I started, oh, that's right, when you guys took the phone, that's when I started posting from my phone. I'm gonna say everything prior to that was probably from my phone. I don't know why I would post. I can't.
Was anything deleted?
Detective, one more portion of the play here has been marked as Exhibit 74D. That's the post at the jury this time.
I'll be guessing that she threw herself.
How do you think she hurt?
She would say that she was going to do it, she did herself.
So, and of course, no one knows anything. I'm just asking for your opinion. So, do you think that she hung herself?
I don't know.
Just what does your gut say?
She hurt.
That's you got to believe her. Has she ever
And then I'm going to say, anything online.
Read this one.
She has talked about killing herself before, but not anything where I would call the authorities and say, you need to save her.
If she were to hang herself, where would she do it?
She would do it where she would easily found. She wouldn't want to cross the street.
Since she hadn't been easily found, is it possible that she didn't kill herself?
You tell me, you're the police.
I just want you to just look at it, the entire thing. Just pull yourself out of it.
Is there a chance that she went out at some point and some of the collectors from Westerville, Ohio, were put in the department to go off with her? What are the odds of that happening?
In Westerville, Ohio, almost zero. Especially on Memorial Day when everyone's at home. Perfect day out.
So I'm going to say, was she abducted? No, I know I did not hurt her. I didn't do it. So the other thing that I think of is that she did something.
Detective, is part of your investigation, did you have an opportunity to review Officer Hollis's body cam in detail?
Yes, sir.
Were the details that the defendant provided to Officer Hollis the same as the details that he provided to you?
No, sir.
I'm going to put up for you what is previously the marked as Exhibit 7. You see that, Detective?
Yes, sir, I can.
Can you tell us, first of all, what we're looking at here?
This is a still shot from Officer Hollis's body cam from when he was out on scene taking the original report from Mathew Moore.
And what do you notice about the location of some items there in the center?
Well, if you look towards the shelf in the middle, the picture right there, there's a red igloo cooler and a orangish red extension cord sitting on top of it. And if you notice, there are two sets of herbs drying in the wall behind them. And directly next to that red igloo is some sort of orange tackle box or toolbox or something else like that.
At the top right there, does it indicate what
He was
time
a blow dryer too.
So that is taken
he
at
definitely
22,
did it.
37, and 24 seconds in Zulu time.
And it's at 4 hours from that to get to Eastern Daylight Time?
Yes, sir.
I'm show you State's Exhibit 8. Tell us what we got there.
This is another still shot from Officer Hollis's body cam from when he was taking the missing person report from Mathew Moore.
And what do you notice about the location of those items now?
The items have now been moved. If you notice, the red cooler with the orange extension cord on top has now been shifted over to the right. Those two sets of drying herbs are no longer directly behind the cooler itself.
He never said that
It's
it
further away from
wasn't.
that, orangish tackle box, toolbox, whatever it is. And now there's a red flashlight that's been placed out.
Oh
Do you
God,
recall how the defendant and
is it
Officer Hollis
communist
got to that
now?
location for this screenshot was taken?
Yes, so just before this screenshot, Officer Hollis was talking to Mathew Moore in the driveway, and Mr. Moore wanted to notify Officer Hollis that he had noticed something in the garage.
And he's cooperating. Oh boy, gets worse and worse.
Detective, we heard testimony yesterday about a tip line being put out. Can you tell the jury about that?
I know.
So there are two ways that if the police department is ever looking for the public's assistance, we have a phone number where people can call in. And it's a general phone number that goes into the supervisor in the detective bureau, and then he can dole it out to whoever the investigator is. We also have an email address where if someone wants to just send an email to us with a tip, they can do so that way as well.
As the lead officer in the investigation, were you the one that collected all those tips? They all end up with you?
I wouldn't say all of them, but if I had to put a number on it, I'd say easily 90% of them. There was just such a huge volume of phone calls and emails and stuff coming in that it's truly, honestly hard for one person to look at every single tip that comes in, but primarily, yes, sir.
And was that a rare occurrence, an everyday occurrence, something else?
Receiving tips from the tip line, it was just about every day. There were tips coming in, sometimes several tips a day, sometimes just one or two. There was no set number to it, but it was nonstop.
And did you attempt to follow up on all those tips that continue to come in?
Yes, sir, we did.
Detective, as part of your investigation, did you have contact with Amy Thomas?
Yes, sir, I did.
And
yeah, you got lots of tips from her.
Conversations with Ms. Thomas about her conversations with Matt.
Just the tip.
Yes, I did.
And specifically in the middle of June, do you remember any conversations you had with Ms. Thomas?
Overruled, he can answer whether he had a conversation.
Yes, I did have a conversation.
As part of your investigation, did you conduct a neighborhood canvass?
Yes, I did.
And did you speak to an individual by the name of John Kramer?
Yes, sir, I did.
And without saying what he said, did you talk to John Kramer about the timeline of events and when he had last seen him?
Yes, sir.
As part of the investigation, were some bank records obtained?
Yes, sir, they were.
And can you tell us generally what was in the bank records?
They would provide, at the beginning, just an overview, what sort of accounts they had, the names that were on those accounts, and then from there, if there were any sort of transactions, either from swiping a debit card or writing a check itself.
Did you see any activity on the accounts belonging to Emily Noble after the day she went missing?
Strictly Emily Noble?
Yeah, so an account that only belonged to Emily Noble.
I can't recall that, no, sir.
Were there accounts that did not strictly belong to Emily?
Yes, there was an account in both Mathew Moore's name as well as Emily Noble's.
And did you find any transactions in that joint account after the date that Emily went missing?
Yes, sir, I did.
And generally speaking, what were those?
The two that really drew my attention were there was two separate $5,000 checks signed by Mr. Moore.
Detective, I'm going to just show you, once I get this up here. Detective, I'm marking, this is Exhibit 77. Are you able to see that up in front of you?
Yes, sir, I can.
And as I scroll through it, can you say generally what it is?
It seems to be the records that we received back from JP Morgan Chase for any account information involving Mr. Moore and Emily.
Yeah, I'm going to come up and show you specifically information about two of those transactions that you mentioned, but do you see that information on page 23, 24, 25, and 26 of the exhibit there?
Yes, sir.
I'm taking up you exhibit 78 and 79 to take them all.
Okay.
Do you recognize the two documents?
Yes, I do.
And generally speaking, can you tell the jury what they are, please?
They are two copies of checks that we received back in that transaction from JP Morgan Chase that were signed by Mathew Moore.
At this time, I'd ask to publish Exhibit 78 to the jury.
No, Judge.
Detective, can you tell us what we're looking at there?
This is a copy of a check that was written out and signed by Mathew Moore.
What does the date appear to be on the check?
It appears to be May 5th of 2020.
And who does that check appear to be made out to?
It's made out to a Paul Pulver.
And what was the amount on the check?
The amount is $5,000.
Turning the second page of Exhibit 78. Does that indicate a posting date of when that date was actually, that check was actually cashed?
Yes, sir, it does.
And what was that date?
June 8th of 2020.
Now it's in permission to publish Exhibit 79. Your Honor, may I publish 79?
Yes, I'm sorry. No objection.
Detective, I'm now showing you what's marked as 79. Can you tell us what we're looking at here?
This is another copy of a check that was filled out and signed by Mathew Moore.
And who was that check written to?
Arturo Ragaroli.
And what was the date that was listed on that check?
The date for that is June 6th, 2020.
And finally, the second page of Exhibit 79, can you tell us what the posting date was of that particular check?
June 9th of 2020.
Detective, did you receive additional bank records pursuant to another subpoena?
Detective Bagwell did, yes, sir.
I should say, Westerville Police Department received other records?
Yes, sir.
Again, I'm just going to show you up there just to identify them, but mark them as Exhibit 80. Detective, these, as I scroll through that, look like the other records that you're familiar with in the case?
Yes, sir, it is.
And those are true and accurate copies of the records your department received pursuant to subpoenas that were issued to JP Morgan Chase Bank.
That is correct.
Detective, now I want to get into talking about cell phones. When was a phone belonging to Emily Noble collected?
Tuesday, May 26th of 2020.
And what was going on at that time? When was that collected?
That was during the knock and talk with myself and Detective Peachy.
When was a phone collected from Matt Moore?
Wednesday, May 27th of 2020.
And when was that phone collected?
Approximately 4:30 in the afternoon during the execution of the search warrant.
Were both of those phones that were collected in late May of 2020 provided to Detective Leckie?
Yes, they were.
And after Detective Leckie formed his portion with the phones, did you receive back these reports, these extraction reports that we're talking about?
Yes, sir.
Are you familiar with those types of cell phone extraction reports?
Yes, sir.
You have experience dealing with them?
Yes, sir.
And were you able to sort through the different tabs and the information that was on the phones as Detective Howard testified earlier this morning?
Yes, sir, I was.
And were you able to create additional reports or search for certain materials and distill that down rather than having a 200,000 line timeline?
Yes, sir.
Before we get into talking about some of these reports,
Right. Same with
what time?
pretending that he claimed he didn't move
They're in
the cooler.
Zulu time, Greenwich Mean Time.
He
It's
wasn't even
essentially
saying
it's
that.
the
He was
standard time
saying
for
that
the
that
rest of the
extension cord was moved, not that he didn't move
and so in
and
order
that
to
he didn't
convert
touch
to
it.
what would have been local time in May of 2020, what do you have to do?
From the time shown, you have to subtract 4 hours to get the current time as it is in Eastern Standard Time.
As part of your investigation, did you review texts between Matt and Emily?
Yes, sir, I did.
I'll mark this for identification purposes as State's Exhibit 81.
And the text messages, that's the one that just floors me. That's maybe one of the dumbest things I've ever heard come out in a courtroom.
Yeah.
Detective, are you able to see this document in front of you?
Yes, I am.
And looking up at the top, can you tell us what State's Exhibit 81 is?
This is a text message conversation between Emily Noble's phone and Mathew Moore's phone.
And does the first page of the report reflect that those are the two participants?
Yes, sir, it does.
And does it list next to the conversation what type of conversation this is?
Instant message conversation.
And Detective, the State Exhibit 81, do you see there how many pages it is?
It looks to be about 503 pages altogether.
And is that an exhibit that lists all of the text messages or instant messages between Matt Moore and Emily Noble that you were able to recover from the phones?
Yes, sir.
I want to talk generally about this first. Can you?
Right. Me and some friends last night were talking about that. She was talking about how they have like 5 days worth of text messages on one screen.
Did your review of their instant messages reflect that?
Yes, sir, it did.
Generally speaking, can you give us an idea of what kinds of things you saw?
And it's not 2020.
There's very much an up and down text conversation between the two of them. 1 minute it's "I love you" and "I've packed your lunch" and I can't wait to come home. And then the next minute there's just
"Here it is.
Better not be drunk when I get home," and just a lot more negativity with the downside of it as well.
Did that up and down relationship continue throughout the entire time of the text messages or instant messages that you were able to recover?
No, sir, it did not.
And when did that change?
It was very much up and down from the beginning of it, end of October, until approximately the beginning of April. And at that point, it seemed to be the up and down. There were no more ups, and the conversation just seemed to be going down at that point.
As part of your investigation, were you able to load up that report and search for individual words?
Yes, sir.
And were you able to search to see how many times the word love appeared?
Yes, sir.
So let's talk about March of 2020.
Okay.
Did the word love appear in the instant messages between the two of them at that time?
Yes, it did.
And how would you characterize that?
Good morning, my love. I love you. Just in the typical sense when you hear the word love, is how somebody would use it.
After that beginning of April, after that time in March, how many other times did you see the word love in their messages?
The last time that I saw it was April 7th of 2020.
Fair to say you don't know what they were saying to each other?
Literally right when everything shut down.
Ways of communicating.
Agreed.
But with Greece, with regard to the instant messages, the word love doesn't appear any longer after the beginning of it.
That is correct.
I think I'm going to mark
This
first portion
was
of these
stupid.
messages as Exhibit 81A.
I may be guilty of doing stuff like that. Salbert, where did you go? I will for sure text people so they will do things for me rather than just tell them. Exactly. I mean, that's why my children have phones, right? So that I can text them to do things. Because both of them started being at home all the time. So why would you text them in the morning that you
Here's
love
some
them?
evidence
You
about,
just say
text
it.
messages that were obtained through the extraction you've heard about from these devices. And these conversations, the texts involved two people, Emily and Matt. They're being offered to you as evidence as to what Mr. Moore said. The statements of Emily are simply being provided as context to his statements. And I will tell you that that is the only reason they're being offered. They're not being offered for the truth of what she said, which means they're not, her words are not to be considered as evidence by you, but you may consider his words and give whatever weight you believe appropriate to his testimony. So I want to give you a sense or my own context of what the meaning of the conversations are and how they are to be considered by you. So what he says is something you may consider. What she says simply will allow you to provide an understanding of what he says or what he says next, but what she says in and of itself is not evidence.
By saying what he says and what she says, you're referring to that coming from their devices,
Right. You're going to hear about chats they had, messages they sent back to each other. People do that these days. They don't talk to each other, they text each other. So that's what's going on.
I merely said that because there's no way to link the devices to a person. It's coming from.
I understand. Again, you just listen to what the evidence is and you'll give whatever weight you deem appropriate. Please proceed.
Yeah, I'm approaching
But then you don't get to have your phone at my house.
Can you take one quickly that document? Detective,
I agree, Jamie.
I do.
Jeremy speaking, tell the jury what it is.
It is part of a text thread conversation between Emily Noble's phone and Matt Moore's phone.
This one has the published exhibit 81A to the jury. Detective, first to help orient us here, can you tell us what is on the left-hand side?
Those are the messages from Matt Moore.
And can you tell us what's on the right-hand side?
The messages in green on the right-hand side are messages from Emily Noble.
Underneath the actual content of the message, do you see where it says status?
Yes.
And what does that indicate?
There's a status of sent as well as a status of read by the recipient.
I want to start with this conversation. When's the first message from?
First message is from Matt Moore.
And what date is this?
It is November 21st, 2019.
And what's the time in Eastern time?
And Eastern time is going to be 11:57:02 a.m.
And what was the message from Matt Moore?
It says, "You're super strong. I love you for that."
And the responses?
The response from Emily says, "I'm trying. Thank you."
Your Honor, if I may, I object to the testimony, the response from Emily. No issue with the phone number. There's been no foundation that Emily was the one that sent that text message.
I think it goes to weight, not admissibility.
Well, what is being responded back is not evidence anyway. I've already instructed the jury to that. So we're simply going to deal with his statements. These other statements are context to what he says. So I've instructed the jury to consider his statements and not the other statements. So we'll understand that these are responses to statements made by the defendant. We can proceed accordingly.
All right. Detective, in your review of the cell phone up until after Emily went missing, did you find anything that suggested somebody other than Emily Noble was using her phone?
No, sir.
Detective, I'm showing you page 2 of this exhibit. Do you see 2 messages there from Matt Moore's phone?
Yes, sir.
And what did those say?
The first one says, "Okay."
And what did the other one say?
Next text message says, "Why does it bother you so much? Am I mean?"
Does that mean anything to you without considering what led to those statements? being made? No, I'm not asking him to. I'm not asking him to opine. I'm just asking: is that statement by itself, does it make any sense without the context of the statement that comes before it? I'm just doing this from backwards to explain the court's evidentiary rule.
Same objection with respect to speculation.
All right. Well, I'll just show him the message that came before. Can you read the message that came right before those 2 things?
The message from Emily Noble's phone says, "I want to know if you start on vodka before I get home. I can't watch that again."
And what was the response?
"Okay." And then, "Why does it bother you so much? Am I mean?"
And what was the response?
The response from Emily's phone is "not mean, unintelligible."
Oh my God, he drinks after losing his
What
son.
did Mr. Moore say that at that time?
He responded back, "Well, then try and get here as soon as you can, please."
Detective, I'm not showing you what's labeled as page 66. Can you tell us what that second message there is on this page?
It says, "I started drinking at like 11 a.m. yesterday, and I drank way too much. I'm going to start cooking at 5. Do you mind if I have a drink when I start cooking? And I promise not to get hammered."
Another message from the defense phone, bottom of the page.
It says, "Thanks. I'm going to get it together soon. I just need to let this sadness thing run its course. It won't be much longer."
So a guy admits he has an alcohol problem. Oh my
Right.
God. He's like,
And he literally asked her if it would be okay if he did at a different time. Like,
And what was that?
I admit it, I started too early. Would it be okay if I waited and still had
like
one?
less than 10% of people can admit they have an addiction. Like they don't try to hide it. They don't like he's going through one of the worst losses of his, or the worst, second worst loss of his life. Like,
right.
I mean, I'm not saying he should be drinking, but I get it. It's not good.
But
for
just
him,
because
I
you
get it.
drink doesn't mean you're gonna off
Yeah.
your wife.
Yeah. So yeah, it was contentious between them, but
It says you have to stay positive.
And then what did the defense say?
And that was his second
Responded
child to
with
be
your friend.
gone.
yeah. I don't think he has any other kids.
I don't believe so.
Gee, so yeah, he lost every single child he ever had. And his wife and
Talk.
And the response?
Response from Emily's phone is, "It's difficult to impossible to talk with you when you have vodka brain."
And what was the defense response to that?
Mathew Moore says, "That is an excuse. You are afraid to be confronted with things you don't agree with. Your intellect is shallow."
And did he continue texting on the next page, page 68?
Yes, he did.
And what did he say there?
Said, "You are not interested in what other people think or say. It's not an insult. It's an observation. If you hear something you don't agree with, you get mad and give it no credence. Maybe you should leave me alone."
I wonder why they don't read those messages from her.
yeah,
They pick which ones they want to read from her, and
that's really irritating.
Detective, the bottom of page 69. Can you tell us what that message is?
It says, "My toenail is growing back. Looks good. Where did you go last night?"
What?
And what was the date time on that?
It is November 22nd, 2019. Did you want the time? And the time is 12:08:14 p.m.
And what was the response to that question?
I'm scared to go home. And are you drinking vodka?
And what was his response?
I'm not drinking.
He unalived her so he could
Second, I'm gonna
drink.
hand you what I'm marking as State's Exhibit A1B.
Is that really your theory here? Okay.
What is there? Did they ever say it? Why?
Not really. I don't think they ever really had a motive, just that they implied the relationship wasn't good. Which, of course, it wouldn't be after that loss.
Second, can you take a look at that?
Yes, sir.
Takes time to recover.
State's Exhibit A1B. You recognize that document, sir?
I do.
Do we want to?
It's more the text conversation between.
Yeah, we're at like 151.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say let's end for today so that people have an hour to go eat and do whatever they want to do and have time before David's thing starts in an hour.
Part 2, day 3. I'll write it down.
So I put on my chat at the top is a link to join the MLS's membership.
Yeah.
And then you can join the Discord and come play Hunt a Killer with us tonight in an hour. Yep,
Yeah, he's
I
being
agree.
Very
He's
respectful and trying to accommodate her, and
right.
Still suffering, an addiction and alcoholism and the loss of his kid, but he's trying to improve, and she's obviously fed up with it, understandably
Right.
so. But
and it's also like everything is changing for everybody at that time.
yeah,
And so you're going to have issues from that on top of grief issues that he's already facing and she's already facing. And
yeah.
so, but all right, I'm not sure what day we'll wrap up day 3, but someday this week we'll get together.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'll get with you on that. I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow.
You are so welcome. That's funny. So, all right.
Alexa,
everybody go
play
join.
Cotton Eye Joe. I'm going to have to start doing that now.
Right? Okay, Google. All right. So go join and become a member over at MLS and come join us for Hunt a Killer.
All right. I'll see you guys later. Toodles.
Oh, hold on. I was on the wrong tab.